All right. We're actually going to go ahead and start a little bit early, right? A little bit. I do need to fix something over here on this side of my stream real quick. Even do something over there. Oops. Okay. I just wanted to make sure audio wise we were good. It looks like we're good audio wise. You know, that's always the scary. It's always the scary part for me, is to not have the audio just like jacked. Hold on. It is this over here, right? I am going to move in this bit like that. Yeah, see, so that looks better. All right. Okay, man. In here, we're getting slowly back into the groove of things, only for us to just break the habit again. Starting Thursday, but we'll be back Tuesday. Probably won't be Monday, but Tuesday for sure. Tuesday for sure. I might actually do week on, week off, because doing all of this myself is really hard work. It's really hard work. It's so hard. Actually, let me just make sure this is turned up all the way. Cool. Cool. That's like I said, it's a coming. It's a coming. Might as well take. Bro, this is like, what am I, like month 6, month 7? Like 7 months, bro. No haircut. No haircut, no shaving, nothing. Right? And all that's also ending this weekend too. We'll finally get back into doing that. My hair's finally soft, man. Cause like earlier, bro, it was so hard to brush. It looks so silver. It looks so silky soft, man. Look at that. Yeah, when I cut it, when I cut it this weekend, psh. All right, that's enough of me looking at my hair. Sorry, I am thirsty. Real man drink. Are you non-alcoholic? Just tastes so good. Bring you over here. All right, so what we doing there, right? So we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try and stick to mostly just politics for this week. We're going to temporary, like just like 4 or 5 day hiatus, and then we're back into our regular programming. Got a lot of stuff. I'm tired of trailblazing. I'm tired of trailblazing. So much in this pollen is killing me, bruh. This pollen season is like pissing me off so much. I have that, and I have that. Okay. Oh, and see my shirt here. I saw this. I was like, yeah, I gotta get it. You know, I had to get it. This McDonald's and Burger King. All right. Let's get to it now. So first thing I'm gonna do is actually Jeffrey's already on standby, so we already got him. We already got him set up. I just need to because I was like testing some, so it made me mess my thing up here. So let me do that shit. Jesus Christ, man. Saying well, yeah. I guess that's my fault. That's on me. That is definitely on me. All right, let's go ahead and hit the OK there. So up so. And then when we switch to the main view on stream, then we'll adjust accordingly. And now and do a little bit of that. Okay, that looks good to me. And let's go ahead now. We're going to transition over. And we're transitioning. Bam. All right. So Now that that's a, a done deal there, let me clear all these notifications. Don't want that. Um, no, hold on. Let me just gotta have it perfect. I'm excited, bro, because I've been craving to play my Mindustry game for so long, and this feels so good to finally be picking it back up because I miss playing it so much. You know, um, now what we're gonna do is I might actually just like take all around it and then take it since this is like such a mofo. All right, let's get the video going. So, what are we watching today? Aiden Ross and Drake full stream. Really? Do I want to watch something like that? I kind of do, but I just said politics. I just said politics, man. Um. Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, you know what we're gonna do first? We're gonna do news first. Right. We're gonna news first. We're actually going to Google the news. Let's see what articles and stuff is happening right now, just so we kind of get it in our minds what's going on. I'm actually switch for my vertical watchers. You know, if you're on the YouTube vertical stream, I fixed the Nvidia thing, the Nvidia background remover. There isn't no one made explicitly for AMD, but there is one that's like generic but leverages like the GPU off the AMD. Right? It does have the name like basically. Um, and it works just as a matter of fact. Actually, it actually works better. It's actually a lot more customizable. I was like, yo, like, this is shit's amazing. It's just really amazing. But yeah, bro, I am scratching my eyes because I am like just dying of this pollen right now, bruv. Shit's like killing me. I might have to get some medication after in a while, bro. It's just sad. This is very sad. Um, I haven't done my hotkeys yet, so um, I think tomorrow I'll fix the staggering, the or I guess the lag, whatever you want to call it for the stream. I've kind of figured it out. I have to make some hard choices, but it's fine. At this point, I just don't care no more. I just want it to stop because there's no telling how long before I get my hands on a 5090 anytime soon. So I mean, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. But when the day comes that I do get my hand on a 5090, like I'm letting the floodgates loose. All right, assuming that those encoded chips work the way I envisioned. So anyway, let's now go ahead and let's pick up where we are. So let me see. So I don't want this. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, I know they were having beef with Harvard University. I remember reading that. We'll see what's going on in a second. So Democrat lawmakers blast Trump Oakley for failing to return to Puerto Rico. I told you guys. Look, ain't it crazy? Ain't it crazy that I called this? Let me hold on. Let me have a whoa. Hey, bastards. Get back up here. Hold on, because I have a whole separate article open up on my like Surface. I just want to just take a quick glance at that, but I'm gonna cut it out. Trying to for trade agreements, aligning with president nice. Yeah, yep. See, this is exactly what I envisioned was basically is an article that the European Union is moving to like create trade with China instead of the U.S. Now with China over the U.S. So much gratitude for 80 years of protection, economic investment, and I remember the Marshall Plan. Well, I mean, but you don't threaten the livelihood. You don't threaten the livelihood of your allies. I mean, at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. Like you know, it doesn't matter. Regardless of all the gratitude you could possibly have, the moment you do something that actually is threatening the livelihoods of of the country and their people, they still have an obligation to their people. So I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, and it's fine, right? Then they'll sit there and they'll strengthen themselves. I'm just moving some of my stuff over here so I can make sure I'm seeing chats when when so all these command prompts opened up. Close that. All right, now we're here. Now we're back here. what the fuck's going on? Like, why is this shit? Why is it? Ah, how you was doing? All right, now what was that? The El Salvador thing. Not playing with me. All right. So like the El Salvador thing. Look, I even called this. I even called this yesterday. I think I'm pretty sure because what you call it asked me that in chat, and I was just like, bro, like he's not coming back. Like that was exactly what I said. Like and just like I thought, right? I told y'all this didn't that he's not coming back. Like at the end of the day, there's nothing. There's no legitimate argument that could be made to for to make the United States get somebody back in a foreign country. It's done. It's done. Like there's nothing they can say to. Why do you think the Supreme Court sat there? Like I don't even think they even told them to bring them back. They just said they need to basically not the word try, but it was obviously like that they were not like putting no like enforcement behind it because you can't. There's just nothing. There's no mechanism for that in a foreign nation. Like I'm sorry, you know, if he's not going to be serious about it, he's not coming back. So I mean, it is what it is, and that's crazy because what they're basically saying is that if they wanted to, they could do the whole thing within 24 hours. Sit there and say that uh you didn't have your driver's license on you. You fit the description of like an illegal immigrant, and as long as they could just like pump you out the country within 24 hours before the legal process could even get started, right? That's it. The moment you leave US soil, it's a wrap. Like it's a wrap. Like that's it. And that's the craziest thing to me. That is the absolute craziest thing to me that makes me like actually like upset. That like that's even a possible thing, right? And of course people are going to sit there and be like, oh well, obviously, they're going to sit there and they can't deport citizens or whatnot, it's the simple fact that there is a circumstance where you could be designated not to leave. Your citizenship means you can't be deported, so you just allowed a circumstance where the government can make a mistake and take you out the country and you are not coming back. Like that's the point. The point of the matter is that you are not coming back. Like that's what's so crazy about the whole thing. Um I just I can't I can't do it, right? I don't have the energy for it right now. I'm Everybody needs to be planning for next year. I'm telling you, next year is going to be the craziest thing. You guys need to look at, is it North Carolina? Is it North Carolina that has their like state Supreme Court thing going on right now? We're going to have to look it up. We're going to have to look it up. Um Supreme Court race. All right, the Republicans attempt to, because I was reading this a little bit, and I think there's like only a day left before it's basically, yeah, actually, because I believe it's the 15th. They have till the 15th, right? Like, God, let me tell you something. This is going to be the most damning thing right here. That's going to spell out the horror you are going to see next year. You need to prepare for next year. All right. So basically, right, if I understand it correctly, well, I do. I understand enough of it. So essentially, the Republican lost, right? He lost the votes. He lost it by I think like 700. It was a slow margin, but I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, you still lost. And so he made a challenge to try and throw away, I think it was like 65,000 votes, because there was like he alleged there was like, I don't know, like some fraud or whatever, or like some error where they're not supposed to have been able to vote there. And like it turns out there was some clerical error where people's like addresses weren't like accurate. And my understanding, this part I didn't look too deep into, but the way it was being portrayed, it seemed like we're talking like you live on 5th Street and they have you down as 7th Street type of discrepancy. Okay. Now I understand from a legal perspective, right? That can be a bit problematic because you have jurisdictions. You have the gerrymandering like lines or whatever, right? Districts. Um, But I would have argued that for like a statewide race, right? We're not talking about members of Congress or the whatever legislative branch where like those like divvied up like gerrymandering like lines actually matter. You're talking about like a statewide race, so like governor, treasury, whatever, whatever the positions are, and then of course like the court picks, the Supreme Court picks for the state, and he's basically trying to like have all that thrown out, have like 65,000 thrown out for a clerical error that I'm pretty sure he probably already knew about. You know what's so crazy about this stuff? Like, let me tell you, I'm a peep game, but I'm gonna talk about it afterwards. Let me just finish this part here, right? So he's gonna sit there and try to have them throw out, and it looks like he might succeed. The reason being because they were able to cure most, but not all of them, and I think they're still short. I think it was like 15,000, and that's because a bulk of those are overseas. So like your military and the people that's like legally authorized to be able to vote from overseas, right? Because you're either like a contractor stationed wherever or whatever, right? To me, and then like, what are the fucking commanders doing? Like, y'all don't hear that this shit's happening on it, and you can't like asking go to your unit, be like, yo, who's a legal resident and is voting in Georgia? Good, like to tell your tell your NCO, whoever, right? Come see me real quick, right? Hey, look, he gets the day off. He needs to go make sure that his shit is like squared away on the voter stuff, because he might be wrapped up in that group of people that's that's about to get their votes thrown away. We this is democracy, America. We don't allow that for some stupid shit. So, but I'm not even gonna go there. But like, it's so crazy to me that like this shit is flying. This shit look like this is about to fly, right? And the worst part is, it's not even just like a big class. It's just because like most of them are military, from what I read. All right, I didn't do a deep dive into it. I'm probably not. I'm just gonna keep this in the back of my mind so that we know that this is going to be a damning Republicans are ops. Not all Republicans are ops, right? Like I was highly impressed with Rand Paul. Rand Paul, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Right, Rand Paul. He did his thing, because I just don't appreciate liars, right? Especially like Depp is definitely an important thing to me, and it's like you're not actually serious about tackling the debt. You're just trying to like just cut things that you don't like, that you feel like you should be able to cut without any issue, and then just that way you could then try to leverage that for justification on tax cuts for what you actually want, which is just crazy to me. We want the cut expenses to cut out towards the debt, but that's obviously not what they're doing. That's what they were saying they were going to do, but that's not actually what they're going to happen to do. But getting back to this is going to be crazy. And the thing that scares me the most is that I'm trying to imagine if like the Democrats were to become unhinged, like they stopped playing by the rules and then they became unhinged the moment they managed to sneak back into power, or slip back into power, right? Just imagine if they had somebody that was just as unhinged as this on Democrats, and I mean just like overt, just as like how Trump is, like sitting there just like shipping people off, right? Because they could just you could just imagine, right? Even the stuff like getting the Palestinians, whether like however you feel about Israel or the Palestinians, right? It could just as easily have been flipped, and it could have been like a targeting against the Jews, like just as easily, right? And there would be no recourse, because they've already showed what they're going to allow the president to be able to do, and what the court is not able to like actually enforce with the executive branch, right? They literally can do whatever they want. And then just imagine if that's in like an unhinged democratic hands, right? Like the shit's about to be crazy, bro. I'm telling you, imagine, I'm trying to think of just something like like something crazy like that would actually be in the realm of possibility that they would actually do. Like, oh fuck, man. But yeah, exactly, right? Because if Biden was doing stuff like this, right, it should be all over the place. And that's the thing that just pisses me off. People are sitting there as like, not taking it seriously about what this means if the other side was to ever catch the levers of power again. Hold on, I'm just trying to fix something real quick on my stream here, because I'm realizing that this is actually looking kind of crazy. Can I move this Oh yeah, see that? We move you back that way. Hopefully this, like this, and loose alert is fine. The federating thing is fine. And hold on, I'm almost there. Almost there. Almost there. I'm almost there. And one last lever now, the attempt to mess with. And is it this? I will leave it at 50. We'll just pretend like that's fine. See. Nope. 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 Almost. I'm probably just gonna change the whole this one, right? Video matting. It's better. That's better. That's better. All right, that's good enough for me. All right, I'm just looking at something here. All right, let's get back to it. They're like they weren't the big crybabies the last 4 years while Biden was in office. Yeah, exactly. You know, and I just can't imagine. I can't imagine the amount of just like outrage they would have if Biden did any of these, like this, any of this stuff, right? If he tanked the economy, right? Imagine if the economy was cratering under Biden, right? They'd be so up in arms and stuff, but like here, Trump doesn't, and it's a whole different story. Let me close this. Hold on. All right, let me just blast through some of these like headlines. See if we see anything. Am I pressing a button? I feel like I'm pressing a button. I don't know why it's like around like that. The guy that was sent to El Salvador, he's not coming back. I called that yesterday. Regardless of what the Supreme Court was saying or what the lower courts were going to do, he's not coming back. Foreign soil, once he's on foreign soil, there's nothing nobody can do. that was the done deal. I do remember reading this. Harvard's going to like fight back against the Trump administration. Now they are, I believe, the wealthiest university in the U.S. So I do wonder what they're going to do, losing so much of the money. I mean, technically, I mean, it sucks. You could technically put a pause on it for 4 years, or like whatever research and development stuff he's doing. And I mean, it's just it is what it is. So we'll have to look and see. Let's see. The economy had one rough day under Biden, and they were shooting their pants. Yeah, exactly. Right? Or the inflation thing, right? Or the inflation, right? Oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait to see, because we have to wait a couple of months. We have to wait a couple of months because he keeps doing this bullshit with like this on and off tariffs, because he can't, every time he tries to do it, he realizes like the world is going to react and actually like counteract his tariffs, and then he gets scared and then he just takes some shits back off. Like that's the thing that's like really pissing me off. Like if you're gonna put the tariffs on and you're gonna be about the business you were sitting there saying, right, then do it. Then do what you're gonna do. But you realize at the moment you do that and the world actually reacts the way they're gonna do, then like you're fucked. Like you're basically fucked, right? Because like those counter tariffs, right, that the Chinese put, that the European Union's put, right, that the rest of the world will be putting on you, like obviously, like, it's gonna mess up a lot of stuff, right? And then there's gonna be a clean sweep. My God, would that be a clean sweep on during elections where the Democrats are just, I don't even know if they even have to do anything. It's just like the environment is just speak for itself. But that's the danger, right? Because see, if we're gonna allow this bullshit like North Carolina Supreme Court thing to fly by, he's in the levers of power now. He has all of the loyalists in the positions that he want them to be, and he's purging those people out he's going through every one of them with a fine-tooth comb now, because I'm telling you, mark my words right here, right now, right? When it comes to the elections next year, he is going to nefariously involve himself in it, right? Remember, we already caught him last time, right? And look, right, I don't like saying this because, like I said, I'm a registered Republican. I lean towards like the Republican ideology when it comes to debt and fiscal responsibility. But at the same time, I'm going to call it what I see it, right? He got caught red-handed last time when he was trying to pressure his Justice Department to send those letters to those like governors in the states that he lost to say that they found evidence of voter fraud when they didn't. And the only reason why none of that went through is because they were like, yeah, we're like our entire department will quit before we do this, basically. And now that all those people are gone and he's making sure he gets all those people out, right? There's no telling what they are going to actually do next year. Well, there is a telling, right? They are going to do something along those lines next year. I'm telling you, and it's going to be really crazy. It is going to be really crazy, and some around black people are falling for this shit too. Oh my god, don't even get me started. Mm-mm. Man. Let's see what we got here. 5060 came out. Finally, that's cool. Already choking off U.S. exports on the slide. Export controls, so all the chips, the computer stuff is going to get really expensive. That's why I spent the last couple of months buying as much stuff as I could, because I'm trying to tell you, pulls is U.S. Google shopping ads. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just going to get expensive, boy. All of that's getting expensive. Let's see. Republicans attempt to steal a state Supreme Court election. Yeah, we're just reading that. Yeah, one of the most controversial changes. Redefine longevity. What kind of phone is this? I'm just taking a quick look here. X cover 7. Oh, this is a case. 7 years of updates and removable battery. Oh no, this is an actual. This is an actual phone. The Galaxy X cover 7 Pro smartphone. 7 years of updates and a removable battery. Oh, that's cool. I never heard of it. All right, let's see. U.S. born attorney says she was told to immediately self-deport. I'm sorry. It's just I shouldn't laugh, but my God, Rev. I'm just curious. Let's see. Here on Fox. Yeah, let's see. A Massachusetts-born immigration attorney is questioning how many people were being wrongly instructed by the federal government to self-deport, as she says she received an email from the Department of Homeland Security telling her to leave the U.S. immediately because her parole was terminated. How the hell did she get a? Huh? Nicole Macaroni, if that's how you shared an email to her Blue Sky account on Friday, stating that she knew it was sent to her in error and so wasn't worried. But what about the people the emails are actually aimed at? It is time for you to leave the United States, blah, 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 non-citizens, enter the U.S. And yeah, this is what I'm talking about, right? Because you got to think about it, right? I'm trying to tell y'all, the fact that we're going to just sit there and we're going to let that shit fly, that the guy they wrongfully deported, even though he was still an illegal immigrant, that they wrongly deported because he was still in the midst of court proceedings, is not there. We're not going to at least put pressure on Trump to get the man back, to adhere to, like, American due process. Is that is only a matter of time before they botch something egregiously to where they actually do accidentally deport an American citizen. And then, I don't know. Well, like I said, again, right? There's no obligation for them to get him back. So this eventually this is going to happen. Like, I see them fumbling this so egregiously bad that they're going to pick somebody up off the street, misidentify them. That person is going to just so happen to not have any, license or whatever on them. And then it's a wrap, right? If they get him out in 48 hours, it's a done deal. Like, you're not coming back, U.S. citizen or not. And it's crazy that we're living in a world now where that is an actual possibility, that you could actually get scooped up and disappear. Is it made in the U.S.? Let's see. Apple to analyze user data on devices. Oh, yes. Apple will be using your own information to feed their AI now. Remember reading that? I remember the price rising in the PlayStation 5. Remember reading about that. Largest U.S.-led military exercise in Africa. Oh, that's minimum storage. Yeah, I remember that. Social Security Administration launches anti-fraud measures. Now this would be good, right? Because like they were sitting there saying that, oh yeah, we got all these people that are 150 years plus, right? That's and I'm like okay, like that's in the system. How many of those are actually getting a paycheck is what I want to know, because I seriously doubt that for the last like 2 or 3 administrations that nobody seemed to like think that there was like these people that was 150 plus years old that were actively getting paychecks, right? These are all just people that are just in the system that don't have a recorded date of death, right? And like it is what it is, because like when it comes to old systems like that, they're just really bad with just doing proper data keeping. But the argument that they're trying to sit there and make is that this is clear evidence that there's a lot of fraud going on in the Social Security Administration. It's but how do you explain? Because if you got people that's like being registered as like 150 plus years old, it's not like their record just poofed in the system, right? So you're talking about people that were there during Trump's first administration. So you're saying that like through like 3 different administrations or probably more, nobody saw somebody who's like 150 plus years old and was getting like a social security check and then think like, we should probably look into this, right? None of the IG inspections that happened in 2022 or whatever, and all whatever subsequent years before then, right? And that's just the stuff how you know they're just like full of shit. Like that is really just how you know like they're just full of shit. So I'm curious what this anti-fraud measure is. Let's see. They don't want him back because he's going to expose them. I don't know about the exposure part. I think they just don't care. Like, honest to God, I think they just don't care. Like, they just, at the end of the day, they're just gonna be like, he's an illegal immigrant. Like, there's nothing to just worry about. Like, as far as we're concerned, he has no rights, is what they're thinking. So, and we're under no obligation, and there's no enforcement mechanism whatsoever to make us get him back. So we're just gonna be like, it is what it is. And then it just so happens, right? You notice how after that ruling, it just so happens that the El Salvador president was scheduled to come, right? Isn't that weird how that lined up so well, right? That he was sitting there meeting with like all these different people, and it just happened the El Salvador one was scheduled to come right after that ruling. No, like I can tell you exactly what happened. That ruling came in, and it was like, okay, well, for me to save face, he called the El Salvador president. It was like, hey, I need you to come here and I need you to just go out because you don't give a fuck, right? I just need you to come here and just say that you're not going to give them back. And, it is what it is. And I'm not going to sit there and say anything and be like, I don't know, right? That's exactly what happened. I'm telling you, that's exactly what happened. Like, they're not slick about this at all. This was so, like, just crazy about it. And they're lying if there's fraud that people would be arrested once found. Yeah, exactly, right? Because it's one thing to sit there like there's like something wrong. It's another thing that entirely say there's fraud. Fraud is a crime, which means the prosecution can go have at it. You're telling me you have all this evidence of fraud, and you as heavy-handed as you are now with the Justice Department, you're not going to prosecute any fraud? Yeah, okay, right? Like the thing with like USAID, right? Oh yeah, this is all fraud and stuff. And it's like, no, it's not fraud. It's all congressionally authorized, right? You just don't like where it is just spending the money towards. And it's just it is what it is. It is what it is. AC launched measures that will identify suspicious activity in telephone claims by analyzing patterns and anomalies within the person's account, effective immediately. If the technology detects irregularities, the individual will be required to complete in-person identity proofing to continue processing their claim. The agency will still conduct identity verification for all in-person claims still. So you used to have an ability to like do your claim like over the phone or something, but I don't understand. Wouldn't that have just been like a natural requirement to begin with to just like verify yourself first when you just initiate a claim? I would have thought. I would have thought maybe not, but then even then, I don't understand like what kind of anomaly. But what kind of anomaly are we talking about? Like like what kind of anomaly? Like what? Like you think you're talking to somebody that's 70 years old and it sounds like there's like a 20-year-old girl on the other side of the phone that's like speaking like to you about it? I mean, I guess like sure. It's kind of unrealistic. Just with respect that like most people just wouldn't do it because like it's just like Social Security fraud is like gets caught like so easily. I mean, it really do get caught so easily. So I mean, just it is what it is. These updates improve our ability. So that's it. It's just phone analyzing. Oh, I don't even know why I wasted my time. Why did I waste my time? Let's see. The most government waste is in the military budget, yet they ain't going to touch that. Well, sort of. Actually, I think didn't the guy I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that leaked the military, the military, the classified like military plans or whatever on Signal, right? Saying that they're not war plans. Meanwhile, like he's talking about like when and where they're about to bomb whatever place in some foreign country or whatever. Like he didn't he just like he put out a directive. I'm pretty sure he put out a directive where like he's chopping up. I think he's like trying to drop like was it like 30,000 uh like civilian jobs from it. Like they're doing like some stuff. Like, again, it's not like nothing crazy, but what is it like? If I can I just Google like military cuts considering proposals? Yeah, right. Oh, and troops too. Yeah, that was the thing too. So they're thinking about cutting the force size down, reduction up to 90,000. Yeah, so up to 90,000 soldiers. And then I believe on the civilian side, it was like I think like 34,000 or 30,000, it's like somewhere around there. Research suggests 10%. No, that's UK. 90. I see 90,000. Let me just do civilian. Because yeah, so it's like 90,000. It's like 90,000 like military, right? Which is a lot. That is quite a lot. Um, I'll just say civilian. Cut IT contracts. Guys to advance civilian workforce over. Let me see this one. I think is here we go. Pentagon is cutting up to 60,000 civilian jobs. So you got 90,000. You got 90,000 soldiers and another 60,000 civilian jobs that they're going to cut, right? Now, a big bulk of what they need to, I guess you could argue they need to be cutting into would be like just the actual like procurement stuff, because that's like where a lot of the money really gets wasted. It's just like on the stuff that they buy, or contracts and stuff that they pour money into. But they're definitely like, as far as people goes, because these people's livelihoods and expertise and stuff, as important as it is, we don't need it, right? So we're just gonna kick them out into the street. Yeah, I can close this now. Let's see. Oh yeah, you say you can verify your claim over the phone, but even then, it's still hard as fuck. I've done a fuckload. I've been trying to get disability for 5 years. Um, ah, yeah, that sucks. Government's always been horribly slow, and now they're going to be even fucking slower. Well, I'd say I'll say starting September, no, starting October is going to be even much worse, because then that's when they're actually able to actually put in the cut stuff. Right now, like they can't really. I mean, to me, it's also kind of crazy that you'll sit there and like these people that you can't fire because you already have money appropriated for them to work, but you're just so hell bent and so like spite just so spiteful of just government operations to begin with. You're just going to send people home for months with pay, right? Because you can't actually take their pay from them, and you're not going to at least just have them keep working and just work. And it's just crazy to me. But starting October, next government fiscal year, right, where they're able to like then push whatever budget they're going to do, that's when all that's getting cut, all that's going to be gone, and it's going to be a sad day. But they just raised the military budget too. Generals waste of yes, they do waste a crap ton of money, and yes, they did raise the budget because but that's just like something typical they usually do. It's not even much thought behind it. So like, come this upcoming like fiscal budget year, I would actually be surprised if they increase it any further, because they're getting ready to. They like I said, they're trying to like cut all of the forces down. They're cutting the actual active duty force down, the civilian force down. He's already told them to nix like the contracts. Was I looking at? I was looking at summer, right? Nix the contracts and stuff. So I'd actually be surprised if they don't just keep the funding levels for the military right there. I don't know, like reducing it might be a bit too controversial for their appetite, but at least like keeping it right there, I'd be really shocked. Let's see what do we got. Trump's meme coins braces for 341 million token unlock after 3-month downtrend. God help us. Get active, Apple Watch. I'm just looking. Look like we're almost at the end here. Yeah, we already read this stuff. Aims to join the 1 trillion club. Okay. Systematica suffers as Trump. China's lunch and Trump's trade war. This is true. I would be interested to see what India does once the stuff with China really kicks off, because India could be poised to like really, they can become like they can really become like China. Especially they have the same population size and everything, and like same like lower standards of living with respect to like cost of living. And it would be interesting to just see if like India like tries to like make serious moves to like fill in that gap. um that they're like pushing from the Chinese. Will freeze 2 billion. Dun, 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 dun. He returned to the U.S. White House. State Department funded by nearly half. Like, see, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of bro. This goddamn budget that'll come up is gonna be crazy, but next year is gonna be so wild. This is gonna be crazy. India and China are probably going to be superpowers in like top two in 50 to 75 years. I'd actually argue that China is probably going to achieve it in about 10. In about 10 years, China is going to be like a really massive superpower. Because if you look at we cemented our superpower like when we developed like the first nuclear bomb, right? And then like we took that advantage and then started expanding our military to maintain our superpower edge. China is going to I am confident that China is going to have a breakthrough on the AI stuff first before any Western country. And then once they combine that with their technology, because they're already surpassing us in at least on a research side, right? It's we kind of have to wait and see like how they actually handle like large scale production, but they're already starting to surpass us in like quality of chips, where like because they're already investing a lot in learning quantum computing. If they break through quantum computing and AI first, which I do think they're probably going to be able to achieve in about 10 years, it's going to be done. That nuclear energy, right? Because it's like a race, right? Like a nuclear energy race between China and like everybody else, and trying to like create the unlimited fusion energy ball thing, right? It's like the power of the sun in some spear. And like they were breaking records, and then I think France like broke a record like a couple of weeks ago, right? For like being able to make it run for 23 minutes. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Like this is all these things that the Chinese are all simultaneously doing, that's all advancing themselves. And like I am really I find it highly likely that they are going to be in a position 10 years from now where like they are significantly superior in terms of their technological capability. Now, whether the manufacturing side of it, because you also need a manufacturing apparatus as well, with respect to like your cutting edge technology, um, in order to actually like really cement that. But just having the capability alone, like now, like it's like an actual. It's not so much as a possibility. It's like it's an actual like just when are they actually going to be able to like mass produce this kind of stuff, right? This is going to be the moment. That's going to be the moment where like they push past us, right? We've been defunding education in the United States for so long that I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. Like we in about shit. I don't even know what we're even going to be looking like in about at the end of next year. Like I said, like next year is going to really tell us exactly where the country is heading to for at least like the next couple of decades. Like I just don't know. And meanwhile, the Chinese having the benefit of a dictatorship, right, where they could just control their people and put them through whatever harsh environment they need to in order to make sure they come out on top. I just don't know. It's gonna be a hell of a couple of years. These next 10 years is gonna be crazy. Shit, this next year is gonna be just crazy. Let me see. Federal minimum wage. Stop hiring human agents. Startup. Okay. Okay. And then, I'm not gonna read this article, but I'm just gonna pull it up just so I can just like. I do want to take this moment to tell everybody, right? I believe in capitalism. Okay. Capitalism. I do believe in capitalism in most places. Okay. The only thing I don't agree capitalism being in is going to be in the stuff that it shouldn't be in, like healthcare. Capitalism should not be in healthcare, right? There should never be a point in time where you're dying. There is something, however many X amount of miles or yards or feet or whatever, that can save your life. And then it's just a matter of can you afford it or not? And if not, we're just going to just let you die, right? If I'm not mistaken, Trump's first presidency. Was it his first or his second Congress? Either his first or second Congress, right? They had a hearing, and I think it was their first hearing, right, where it was over a mom who she came in to talk about like how she had to watch her daughter die because they couldn't afford like the penicillin or whatever the medication was. And it's just a stark reminder that like that's not the kind of world we should be living in, where like you're you could live. We have the means of allowing you to live, but we're just not going to because you just don't have the money. You no money, no life. Like I'm sorry. Like that's just so, it's so sad to me. It's really so sad to me. But that's why I don't believe in capitalism just in that regard. That and insurance. Insurance is crazy too. Well, that you could have just been like insuring yourself, you know. But that's neither here nor there, and that's going to require a nuanced talking talking about. But what I want to talk about, like this AI stuff, I just want to be very clear. Anybody that sits there and thinks, right, you are a fool if you think that a company that has the means of having their work from beginning to end being done by an AI agent is not going to fire their people and only use AI agents. You are a retarded fool. I'm sorry. There's just no nicer way to put it. Like there is no scenario under our umbrella of capitalism that does not mandate a company using AI in place of humans for production. It's just there's nothing you can say. There's no scenario for it. There just isn't. There's nothing you can think of that sit there and require, besides the very select few of people that are there to debug and watch over the AI. All the rest of them jobs are gone. As a matter of fact, hold on. As a matter of fact, then what you call it even say? Let me see. Shopify CEO AI. Yeah, here we go right here. Perfect example. I remember coming across this, right? Perfect example, right? Like basically the Shopify CEO says that he said that from now going forward, if they want more people, they need to prove to him that the job cannot be done by AI. All right? The job cannot be done by AI. This is coming, right? I don't understand why everybody's letting all these like Elon Musk and all these other people to sit there and convince you that you're going to have a better life and a better living, letting these people in control of deciding what's going to happen. I'm telling you what they're going to choose to do. At the end of the day, right? They're just there just for the money. They're just going to be there for the money. They are going to let those people go. Now that he's like already taken that position, now he's actively looking at, when can I start letting people go and start transitioning to a full AI workforce? That is what he's going to be doing. That's what everybody's going to be doing. I'm sorry, right? And so like now, you have a choice. You know, really humanity has a choice, because if you don't, I'm not, like I said, again, I support capitalism, but if this is what we're about to be led into, is incompatible with capitalism, because you can't have a bulk of your workforce. Excuse me. You can't have almost your entire workforce not able to work because AI is there. You're gonna have to switch to a socialism system. There's no choice. There's legit no choice, right? Because if people can't get a job because AI is able to do it, and people can only make money by working, right? You're going to have to do it, because otherwise then your economy collapse, right? Because people aren't making money. People are not making money. People are not buying stuff. People are not buying stuff. These companies are not making profit. They're not making profit. They can't operate, right? And it's just it's a very vicious cycle. And what's going to end up happening is that like what they're going to do. This is how I see the transition actually happening. A couple of companies, once they're able to, they're going to make the full transition. They're gonna be the very first ones, right? There's going to be some companies that are going to be the very first ones to hit it on like a full AI workforce, no people, right? Once that gets, I'd say like, let me see. I would say that once unemployment hits 8%, I'd say like 8%, 8%, right? It's not going to be until unemployment hits 8% with no vision of coming down because of the AI transition that then the governments are going to want to react, because they're going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh shit, like uh we're kind of, I mean, yeah, we're essentially fucked, right? Because we can't, unless they want to throw away their capitalist beliefs, right? Because remember, right, maybe they try to pass laws and be like, a company can't have, more than, however they choose to even quantify it, but like 40, we can't have more than 40% of your workforce being like AI agents, right? Has to be people. That's really unrealistic. I don't see that being the case, but um unless they throw away their the whole point of capitalism in the US, they're going to have to they're going to have to transition. They're going to have to transition to a socialist system. There's no choice. There's going to have to be a universal income, um and or maybe just like stuff just stops costing money after a while. Right now, it's just a matter of just spending like labor, like capital, labor points, right? Where like if AI is able to do all the work, so that means like they're like from the beginning to the ending to the recycling cycle, to the end of the recycling cycle of being able to then reproduce the good. You could argue that we don't even need you don't even need like a currency system anymore necessarily. It just be more like a quota system, right? Where like you can only get but so much and at a time, and maybe maybe keep like luxury. Maybe there is a thing for like luxury stuff, but um yeah, no, it's that time's also coming. That's going to happen. That we're still some times away for that. I would say we're like 23 years from that. Because even if AI, because the breakthroughs that there's a lot of breakthroughs that have to happen first with the technology. So quantum computing, I think once quantum computing takes off or has the like breakthrough it needs, then we'll see AI probably at that moment on the cusp of hitting the general intelligence needed to like be able to like replace people en masse. But outside of that, I'd say we're like 25 years out, because I feel like we're still probably like 5 to 7 years before quantum computing probably becomes like truly usable. So we'll see. All right. All right. Now we can go ahead. We can go into this. Let's see. Do I want to do this? Not even. We might. We might. Oh God, that's so good. Oh my God, she's still doing stuff. The real reason she left the Daily Wire. Wait, Brett Cooper left the Daily Wire? Oh, really? We're not watching this whole 3 hour plus video, but we are going to skim through and we're going to see what's what's up. All right, then we're going to watch this, and then we're actually going to play our game. Um, just give me a second now while I switch to me headphones. What time is it? It's 11:40 ish. Right there. And oh, I'm just realizing too that huh, I'm just realizing too that my thing. So I kind of designed, well, a far cry from calling it a design, but I kind of just like developed that myself per se. I still gotta like actually figure out how I want to implement the texting in order to actually be lookable. But I am noticing that, excuse me, it is like it's like behind a single message. So I'm gonna have to take that in consideration and see what's going on. Um, can I? Hmm. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to figure out what would I do in order to. What would I do? I have to like mess around with it. Maybe tomorrow. That'll be a thing that I do tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll fix the occasional freezes that my encoder is having, and then I'll try to see if I can figure out what I'm gonna do about the the chat. That's gonna be another. That's it. See if we can kind of be through. I didn't know she left the Daily Wire. Well, no wonder why I stopped seeing like stuff of her. I mean,
I'm happy you're here.
oh, there we go.
We got a lot to dive into. You ready?
Yeah, for sure.
Anything off the table?
No.
All right. How's it going independent?
It's awesome. I'm having a ton of fun.
Are you?
It's very freeing.
Is it more challenging than you thought it would be?
Yes and no. I think I was surprised about the things that have challenged me. Because I knew going into it that there was a lot that I didn't know that other people had managed and that I didn't have a hand on. And that was one thing that I never really loved, was that I didn't completely have a hold and a sense of everything that was going on in terms of my career and brand. So weird to talk about yourself as like a brand, but sort of how it ends up being. And so it's been really nice to dive into that. But of course, there's a learning curve with that. But it's been very freeing.
Well, we'll dive into that later. But
Nice.
I just want to say, man, like, you're 23 years old, right?
Yeah.
Very sharp 23-year-old, and I just have a ton of respect for you. I don't dabble with the Gen Zers much. I don't get the opportunity, but you know, I've been stalking you for a little bit. Sounds kind of creepy, but no, like, you know, I saw, you know, obviously the transition from Daily Wire and kind of disappeared for a minute, and you popped back up, and like you got spunk in your step. You're crushing it, man, and it's really like.
Utah homeowners, you can replace
wanna
your
know why she
old
left.
AC unit
That's it.
at
That's
no
all I
cost
just
thanks
wanna
to
know.
new funding.
I've seen so many people, I don't know your experience with this, but I always say like the first year is the hardest. And it was hard, but not because of him. It was hard just because we had things going on. I had work things. He left the corporate.
Let's go here. Go and get
Utah homeowners,
Jesus
you
Christ,
can
these
replace your
goddamn
old AC
homeowner-
unit at
homeowner
no
ads.
cost thanks to new funding. Millions in
I
funding.
just want to know.
What was your motivation to go independent? When did that pop into your head?
I was ready for something different.
You just wanted a new challenge, or?
Yeah, I think
It's going
you know,
deep.
I've covered a lot of different things. And there have been different moments in my life where I had to make kind of like a decision that was like, you know, that leap of faith and that risk. And I hadn't taken one in a while. And I felt very complacent, and I was good at what I was doing, and I was doing it every single day, and we were making a difference. And I was in a very good rhythm, but I had gotten complacent.
Was it freedom?
Yeah.
You wanted more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
What was the final straw? I mean,
There wasn't
almost
a-
nobody would give that up.
Yeah.
And start from scratch. And that's why I respect you so much.
No, it was terrifying. I had to, you know, outside a conversation, because it was not like this is a lot of thinking and praying and analyzing, and we looked at each other and we're just kind of like, are we basically willing to lose everything and start from scratch? Because again, Alex had just started his own business. We had bought this farm that was like a stretch, but we really wanted it. And I was like, I could leave and it could backfire on me immediately. Nobody could care. Maybe I wouldn't make any money. Maybe I would have no anything. And I basically just had to decide, like, does that matter to me? And it didn't.
Utah homeowners, you can replace your old
Oh, they know
AC
I'm
unit
trying to, like, I
at
just
no
wanna
cost
know.
thanks to new
So it was
funding.
just, she just wanted to just leave. So it wasn't like
And it
Candace
worked.
Owens
Yeah.
type of.
But it wasn't because I was
subs.
like, yeah.
1 million
Just kinda
subs in 1 month when you launched your new show.
Yeah. It was very humbling and gratifying. I was like, okay. But it's terrifying. And I literally, like, our conversation was like, are we willing? My mom had just decided to move to Nashville. I was like, are we willing to like go move back in?
That's cool, you know. Nice.
China steals somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 billion a year.
like
We
some
ignored
points,
Osama bin Laden, and then we said,
stuff like that, but I
how did that
never,
happen?
like,
Well, we
wish
can't
people
afford to
were
do that
like
with China
that.
because China is so much more
Just wanted to know.
powerful than Al-Qaeda ever was.
She
We
left,
don't
like,
need
off,
this
like,
weirdo
saying
militaristic
stuff
talk
that's,
about
like,
China.
Candace
And
Owens.
I don't want to get into a war with China. That's mental.
Cheng, just because we're not shooting guns and dropping bombs doesn't mean we're not at war with China, bro. Trust me, they're poisoning the minds of the kids with their freaking TikTok crap. They send fentanyl through our freaking border. How much more signs do you need to say that they are the enemy?
Is there anybody else that has a walk-in
I mean, people are waking up, Piers. I don't think they're necessarily bending the knee. It's like America is just fed up and they're just tired of the nonsense. Good for Bill Maher.
People are being rounded up for their ideas, and that's new, and that's chilling.
No, this is all a protection of Israel. And once you take away his rights, you're taking away our rights. And that's it. Round them up.
There are no half measures in today's febrile public square. President Trump's 90-day pause on most new tariffs was either a masterclass in the art of the deal or a panic-stricken climb down. It depends on who you follow online and what you watch. And the same camps are divided over Bill Maher, who has variously been described this weekend as a rabid MAGA convert and a sellout dupe for reporting on his dinner with the president like this.
He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will.
Well, the truth is exactly where he is, somewhere in the middle. If the 2028 election is somehow Obama versus Trump, as Steve Bannon suggested in the same show, you can safely bet that Bill Maher will not be backing the president. But he's also figured out that defending Democrats to the hilt over every cultural excess and constantly smearing Trump as a dangerous demagogue who can do no right isn't working out very well either. As for the tariffs, there's no doubt that they have caused chaos in the markets. But there's also no doubt that many countries are now hurriedly negotiating new trade terms that will benefit the US. And if MAGA is as divided and furious about the trade war as we've been led to believe, well, nobody told the crowd at UFC in Florida this weekend.
And making the entrance right now to a standing ovation, the 47th President of the United States of America, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White and others, Donald J. Trump.
Is there anybody else that has a walk-in other than a fighter?
So nothing is black and white. Well, almost nothing. There are still things like Taylor Lorenz's fangirling over Luigi Mangione.
You're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems like this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, what? Surely everyone with a brain or a heart or a modicum of compassion can agree that someone who executes a father of two as he walks down the street is not a morally good man. Well, let's find out. To debate all this and more, I'm joined by Cenk Uygur, the founder and CEO of The Young Turks, by Josh Rogin, analyst for The Washington Post Intelligence, Vinny Ashana, PBD's podcast Angry Patriot, and Gordon Chang, the author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Well, welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Cenk. Where are we with Tariff Gate? Because it seems to me the biggest problem right now for the administration is not the principle of leveling tariffs, which can be debated, or the overarching philosophy behind it, which is that America should be doing more manufacturing. I think most people agree with that. The real problem is the constant mixed messaging from the top people at the White House is causing, I think, real uncertainty and real damage, not least to Donald Trump's approval ratings on the economy.
Yeah, 100%. There's really no argument about it. I mean, the folks that are saying art of the deal are hilarious. So, and it can be proven very simply. So, first, he does these global, massive nuclear tariffs. So, as you know, Piers, on this show, I said they'll never last. They're maniacal. And I also said, as you're pointing out, that tariffs can be done right. They could be targeted and strategic based on industries or countries in specific. So then Donald Trump backpedals, and you can tell it's a backpedal and not some sort of art of the deal because he got absolutely nothing in return. So the 90-day pause was based on zero give back from any other country. It's because he had miraculously crashed the stock market and the bond market at the same time, which was previously held unimaginable because one is supposed to go up while the other one goes down, but he managed to do both. And now China tariffs are super strong. Okay, exemptions for iPhones and electronics. Why? Because he hadn't thought it through. He hasn't thought through any of this. He's always doing this in a way that makes no sense at all. And by the way, if you like tariffs and you like the idea of rebuilding manufacturing in this country, Donald Trump just did massive damage to it. Because after this, who's going to want to do tariffs again? So there's absolutely no planning here. And then let's see how he negotiates, if he can negotiate with China at all. But it's done nothing but damage and gotten us no good return so far.
Okay, Gordon Chang, your response to that?
Well, yes, so far, but we're very early into this process. And yes, I don't like a lot of the turbulence and a lot of the backtracking, but we got to see how this turns out. Remember, with this 90-day pause, President Trump is going to be negotiating with a lot of countries. We're going to end up stitching trade deals with them, and we're going to leave China out in the cold. And China's never been there, or at least hasn't been there for decades. So I think this is a fascinating process. It has actually a possibility of working, and it's absolutely got to work.
Meanwhile, EU, China, trade. Now. How did I know? All right, you know, because I remember seeing the headline earlier, right? EU China as ever amidst trade strategy is moving. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen was quick to pick up the phone to China after U.S. President Donald Trump delivered his his now famous reciprocal tariff speech earlier this month. Europe appears to be shifting its gaze from west to east as leaders lean towards China. You see, this is the problem. Okay, this is the problem. Like these people think that the rest of the fucking world revolves around the United States. That shit can be rescinded. All right. The only reason why a lot of this stuff has been revolving around the U.S. is because of our morals, the things that we stood for, the military protections that we did for people's rights and freedoms overseas, and the fact that we don't dick our allies. That's just what it is. Like I don't know why do they think that this is going to work? It's not going to work. This is exactly what's going to happen, right? They're going to start decoupling themselves from the United States. Like what Donald Trump has single-handedly done, that these spineless Republicans have done now, right? I just like, God, bro, I wish it was more Rand Paul's, but Rand Paul's like my last like Republican savior here, right? Keeping me from going Democratic. He has single-handedly started the downward spiral of the United States as we know it with the rest of the world. Let me tell y'all something, okay? The world is going to, like, life in the United States is going to look very different when the rest of the world decouples themselves from us, okay? And by decouple, I don't mean like a complete separation. That's not obviously going to happen. But, like, they're no longer going to be dependent. And I wouldn't be surprised if now, as far as the world currency transaction thing, that starts to move towards, like, being up for debate, up for change. And it becomes like a more neutral-ish like country like Canada or the UK or something. I don't know. It's crazy. I want to know what's the excuse me. What is the thing that Trump has said? The such caused U.S. tariffs. Oh, is there anything? No. Hiatus. Okay, so but there's like plenty of articles because I remember reading one on it. Spanish Prime Minister. Graph is going to get crazy.
President Trump knows what he needs to do. Now, he may not do it in the way we like, but I think he's going to eventually get it done. So let's wait until the end of the process before making judgments about whether this works or not.
Right, Josh Rogan, so far. There are 90 days. Yeah, I mean, Josh, there are 90 days to negotiate with countries. According to people at the White House, they've already had a lot of countries get in touch to try and do new deals. Is it right to judge this now, or should we be a little bit more patient, notwithstanding the fairly reckless way that this has so far been rolled out?
Well, to be short, Piers, there is a lot of truth to the fact that all of these countries are coming to make deals with the Trump administration. They were doing it before. They'll continue to do it. And I'm rooting for the United States, and I think most Americans are rooting for the Trump administration to succeed. But it's impossible to ignore the fact that trade deals take months, if not years, to negotiate, and negotiating 90 of them in 90 days is not only unprecedented, it's basically fantastical. And, will they get 10? Will they get 20? Will they get 30? I hope they get as many as they can. But what is the cost of that turbulence? What is the benefit versus the price that we pay while we're subjecting our economy and all these other economies, by the way, all these economies around the world that are so dependent on us, to all of this suffering and pain while we, change our policy this way and that way? It just has to be weighed against the perceived benefits. So it's complex. And, I'm not saying that they won't succeed to some degree, but it's impossible to ignore the fact that the way that they're doing it is causing massive, massive damage, not just to our economy. And I agree with Gordon that, it's time to confront Chinese predatory and unfair trade practices across the board. But we get one shot at this. And I think isolating China is going to be really difficult, especially when China is increasing its relationship with all the countries around the world that we're also alienating at the same time. So, yeah, it's not impossible that he could succeed, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good because of the way it's gone so far. We have to be honest about that.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, we ask only one thing. Subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's get straight to the point. Support for today's show comes from a business review, or they'll help you set them up in a tax advantage is committed to getting the truth out there and get us purchase and mention my name, Piers. So make the smart move. Call 866-692-2474 or text Piers, that's P-I-E-R-S, to 65532. That's 866-692-2474 or text Piers to 65532. All the details are in the description. Now on with the show. All right, Vinny, look, you're a massive Trumper. You were with him at the weekend at the UFC, and we'll come to that in Florida, where he got a roaring ovation. There's no doubt the country, as always with Trump, is split, where a lot of liberals are in complete, raging fury about him. And at the same time, in places like Florida, he can do no wrong. But I saw a poll on CNN this morning, which has actually been, the polling they've been doing on him has been quite positive until now. But the polling on do Americans trust Trump on the economy, and do they blame him or Biden for the state of the economy right now? They've never been worse for Trump. So now the American people have moved from blaming Biden to now blaming Trump, and his own approval rating on the economy is plummeting pretty rapidly. Now, I know Trump well, as you do, and he won't like that. He won't like the fact that his economic polling is plummeting. So this has to work quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, Piers, I think, well, first of all, just him walking into the UFC, like you said, we're going to get into, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I saw Michael Jackson when I was a kid, and it was at that level, but we'll get into that. But Piers, here's my thing. Obviously, all we're going to hear is the fear-mongering from the other side. Everything, from the past 8 years when he first came in, it was, we're going to go to war with Korea. He was a Russian asset. We're going to go to war. Everything is fear-mongering, Piers. The guy hasn't been in for 3 months. Everybody needs to just relax, just like Gordon said, let it take time. And I have an analogy, Piers. Our country, like, what a heroin addict, when they finally stop doing the heroin and they put them in a room, they're detoxing, they're shaking, they're sweating, they're going through a bunch of, bodies are convulsing. That's what America's going through, Piers. We've been hooked on this freaking government, everybody walking all over us, every country taking advantage of us. It's going to hurt for a little while, Piers, but guess what? The tariffs are going to work. Stock market jumped 400 points today. Everybody needs to chill. And then, Piers, by the way, how many factories are reopening? Steel jobs are coming back to America. Japan pledged $1 trillion to come here. The UAE committed $1.4 trillion in 10 years. Saudi Arabia just lined up $600 billion, possibly hitting $1 trillion. It's not small talk. It's respect. And Cheng said it's not the art of the deal. This is exactly what it is. He knows how to play this freaking game. Now he doesn't have all the Russia and all the crazy shit happening around him. Just give him some time. Let him cook. Everything's going to be okay. You'll see. Trust me.
All right, Cenk, trust Vinny.
Cheers. Yeah, no, I definitely don't. No offense, Vinny. So listen,
I said this, like, the smartest thing that Trump has did is that he got all this out the way early. Because if he was trying to, because the thing is that, like, facts are facts, right? You're like, with a bunch of a bunch of like, a lot of multinational countries and whatnot. You're not just spawning a trade deal. You're not just being like, all right, well, we'll just. I mean, unless you want it to be that rudimentary, where he just is like a piece of paper that just sits there and say, like, yeah, like any imports or exports we do, we're not going to charge any tariffs on like automobiles or whatever, whatever it is you want to sit there and you want to imply, or you want to like talk about. I guess if you wanted to be that basic, right? But like, there's actual things as far as like understand like volumes. What to do in case of like if like the country is being leveraged by another country to try to do like tariff evasions, maybe I don't know, like shipping routes or whatever the hell, or like if it's a land-based country that you could like drive to, then I guess like maybe the agreements for like shippers to have like automatic visas or something. I don't, I'm maybe it is like stuff like that, but which I sure like would make sense, but they make it seem like it's just as simple as just a piece of paper, some piece of paper just saying that, hey, like, we just, these categories would just be this tariff, this category would be these tariffs, and then that's that. I really doubt that's how like trade deals actually work. But what do I know?
What would have garnered trust is if he had done this in a rational way and said, here's the industries I'm protecting, here's the countries I'm targeting, and I'm going reciprocal. If China's got 20%, we're going to put 20% on them, and it's non-negotiable, right? Or we're going to negotiate it down to 0 so that we're got it fair for both sides. But to do 145%, I mean, you might as well do 1,000,000%. It doesn't make any sense. At that price, you can't sell any goods. So he's not thinking this through. He's doing this in a crazy way. And you guys are saying, hey, let's see how it plays out. It's only 3 months in. I get it, and that's fair. And there's a long way to go with 4 years. But what you can't say at the same time is that it's worked so far. It hasn't. It did crash the stock market. It did crash the bond market. And Donald Trump retracted those because he had crashed the markets. That's not part of any plan. That's just a giant screw up, and he got nothing in return. So you can say, hey, maybe he'll get better later, and that's always true, of course, right? But to say that he's cooking now, no, he's cooked, not cooking. And so far, he's done nothing but absolutely bungle it and got nothing in return.
But Che, what do you expect in 3 months, brother? It's gonna take time, and it's gonna be ugly. China has owned our asses, Cenk, for how long? And the only thing I fear, Piers, the last time, because listen, at the end of the day, all these other countries, they're gonna bend the knee. China is our actual threat. When people say they're our adversary, no, that's our enemy, okay, Piers? It's freaking China. And the last time Trump tried to hold them accountable, and we had a trade war with China, a virus mysteriously leaked out of a lab that we not only opened, we funded, and the main guy behind the helm that this virus leaked from got a preemptive pardon, and his hands were washed, and he has no accountability. That's the only actual fear. Trump is the only one that is holding their freaking foot to the fire. And I'm sorry, Pierre. And Josh, you said at the beginning that I disagree when you said that people are hoping for the success. The majority of the people that I know on the left, Josh, hell no. They're like, no, they want it to fail. They want it to burn just so they could say it was Trump. It was Trump. We told you. That's not America, brother. We have the freaking president of the United States. He's the leader of the freaking free world. We have to back the guy. I'm not saying blindly back whatever the hell that he's doing. Check, I have some stuff that me and you agree on that he's doing that I don't agree with. But when it comes to this, bro, when it comes to China, that is the actual threat. They freaking, mind you, the past 4 years, they got away with everything. They were flying spy balloons, Piers. Nobody said shit. All right, they buy land at all of our military bases, nuclear missile bases in Mount Montana. Nobody says anything. They do whatever they want. And then when Xi comes to San Francisco, you do some cleans the street, kisses his ass. It looked like freaking Beijing. All right, we finally got a guy that's holding their foot to the fire. Like I said, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be a little turbulent. But bro, the guy knows what he's doing. He's a freaking boss and he's a businessman. He's gonna be fine.
All right, see, Josh, the interesting thing about this. Hang on. The interesting thing, Josh, it seems to me about this particular crisis is it's entirely self-inflicted, quite deliberately, by the President of the United States. This is not some existential disaster that's happened, or a pandemic, or whatever it may be, or a terror attack, or a war.
Exactly.
This is entirely.
There are so many different actual appropriate ways you could have gone about this, right? Because you know what's the key, the number one key thing is to actually work with your allies to like do it, right? Being forceful with them and doing it, not actually doing this where you're basically like, holding the proverbial gun to their head saying that you will do this, right? Because you know what that does? That sits there and that breeds distrust, and that breeds that makes countries realize that you're not to be trusted, right? Because like you're doing this for this. What would you do? Like, what other things would you possibly do this? Why would I allow my citizens, my people, to be subject to another country's whims because they feel strongly about like somebody else, right? I don't want no part of that. And then you're proving that to me. So now I am most certainly going to go ahead and start the process to separate my economy for yours to the point where it's not so heavily dependent to where like you can make these demands where you can force me, a sovereign nation, from doing your bidding. Like that's not gonna fly. And I doubt it. No, I'm pretty sure it's gonna. Yeah, that's right. Here, grab this. We're gonna stop here. And I'm talking about like building, right? Because you see, I'm doing all this preemptive building here. All right. And I'm on the pause. Build. Hopefully.
Orchestrated by Donald Trump and his team quite deliberately. And I've got to say, we were both on the Bill Maher show, and we'll come to that a little later on Friday. But, every time I've ever interviewed Trump, 40, 50 times, however many it is now, he's always gone on about China. And I don't think he's wrong. So it's an interesting crisis where it's entirely driven by Donald Trump. He's done this quite deliberately. Most people, I think, agree with the overarching principle that America has been ripped off, certainly by China, for too long, and that manufacturing has been allowed to migrate out of America for way too long and way too aggressively. So everyone kind of agrees with why Trump is doing something dramatic. What the point of argument is the implementation of a policy to try and reverse this trend. And that's why it's interesting to me. When Trump talks about we've got to take the hard medicine, what Vinny just said, it's very early to assess whether this will work or not. It could be that in 90 days' time, the Trump team have negotiated a series of new, more advantageous trade deals with many countries. I'm sure that's likely to happen anyway. And it may be, we don't know, but it may be that China blinks, that actually China realizes it needs America more than America needs China.
Yeah, I think there's a lot right in what you said. I've interviewed Trump for an hour on China alone, okay? And I wrote about this in my book. And here's what people really don't understand about President Trump and China is that President Trump's goal is not to decouple from China. President Trump's goal is to make a deal with China, okay? And that's not necessarily what everybody in his administration thinks. But if you ask him, if you listen to him closely, that's what he wants. And for him, all of these things are tactics to get to the negotiating table and make a deal with Xi Jinping, not to separate the United States from China, but to solve the unfair trade practices and keep going the engagement. That's what President Trump believes in his heart of hearts. I'm 100% sure of it, and people who are close to him know that. So what does that mean? That means that these are all tactics meant to bring Xi Jinping to the table. And I'm sure that eventually, when we get to that point, the Chinese will negotiate, and that will be a very painstaking process. That's exactly what happened in the first term before the pandemic. By the way, Vinny, I agree with you that the virus likely leaked from a lab based on a preponderance of the evidence, but I don't think it was intentional. Okay, I think it was an accident. But that's neither here nor there. To address what you're saying, Piers, we have to understand that this is all about deal making for President Trump. And yeah, when I say I'm rooting for those deals to succeed, I'm not representing liberals. I'm just a person. I'm independent. I'm not a liberal. I'm just me. And what I'm saying is that when you look at what happened this weekend, even since we were on that show, Piers, we had exemptions for some of the things, then there were no exemptions, then the exemptions were temporary, then this Commerce Secretary said one thing, and the Trade Representative said another thing, then the President tweeted a third thing. That's no way to run a railroad, okay? We can't do that. This is going to be a very, very difficult thing to pull off if we're doing it competently. And when you have the three top officials in the United States saying three different things on the same day, even yesterday, where that's just a recipe for undermining his own goals.
Now, I may be about to shock you with this, but tallow is an exceptional moisturizer. The oil in our skin shares many of the same fatty acids as tallow, making it nearly impossible to beat. You can have silky soft skin, like me, with an all-natural alternative. It has no fillers, and it's much more than just a moisturizer. It can replace lotion, night cream, wrinkle cream, Neosporin, and much more. It's powerful enough to heal your skin, but it's safe enough to spread on your toast. And if you're looking for natural solutions, what about your toothpaste? Van Man's Mint Bone Tooth Powder is packed with all the minerals and the nutrients needed to remineralize teeth. They use zero fluoride, SLS, glycerin, and foaming agents. The aim for all of Van Man Company's products is to be edible, especially those which are literally used in your mouth. Go to vanman.shop/discount/peers for 10% off. That's vanman.shop/discount/peers. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Gordon, there's no doubt that mixed messaging is a real problem right now, and Donald Trump has to get a grip of that. But you've written a lot and talked a lot extensively about the threat from China. For those who don't fully appreciate why it's such an existential threat, potentially, to America Incorporated, for want of a better phrase, just explain what China has been doing, particularly in relation to intellectual property rights, and then abusing the legal process in a way that is very advantageous to them and very unadvantageous to people like the United States of America.
Yeah, China steals somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 billion a year. Give or take a couple $100 billion. That was the assessment from John Ratcliffe when he was Director of National Intelligence in 2020, just before he left office. And, this has been persistent. It's been going on for decades. And the issue really has been no American president has been willing to take the Chinese on this particular topic until Trump in this term. Not even Trump in the 45 years. It's Trump 47 who is really doing this. The context for this is that the Chinese regime believes the United States is an existential threat. It believes that not because of anything that we say or do, Piers, but because of who we are. You have an insecure regime in Beijing is worried about the inspirational impact of America's values and form of governance on the Chinese people. So that means we will never have amicable relations with Beijing as long as the Communist Party rules it. That's not a conclusion that most people want to hear. It's not a conclusion that President Trump wants to hear. But when he tried a trade deal with China in January 2020, just before the pandemic, the Phase 1 trade pact, it failed almost immediately because the Chinese violated it. And they'll continue to violate it because they believe that they must destroy our country. I don't like that conclusion, but unfortunately, we have got to face what the Chinese regime says and does. We ignored Osama bin Laden. We ignored him until one day when he killed 2,977 Americans, and then we said, how did that happen? Well, we can't afford to do that with China because China is so much more powerful than al-Qaeda ever was.
I mean, you're shaking your head, but why?
Yeah, so China has ripped us off. They have a partner here in America that I'll get to in a second. But we don't need this weirdo militaristic talk about China. We could just keep it to economic competition and sometimes, by the way, economic cooperation. And look, guys, we all seem to agree we need to deal with China, over tariffing us and getting an unfair advantage. The right way to do that is to go reciprocal, to be tough, and to be consistent, and not to wobble like Trump is doing. So look, you gain credibility through your actions. And Piers, last week I said there's no way that these tariffs would last. And I was right. Of course, these tariffs can't last because there's certain economic inevitabilities. You can't crash both markets at the same time. It doesn't work. So we've got to be strategic in how we deal with China. And talking in militaristic terms and how they're the evil enemy doesn't help at all. It's just weird stuff to me. So, and don't do anything in a way that pushes militaristic angles. So, and I don't want to get into a war with China. That's mental. So now, in terms of who's their partner here in America that's causing a lot of the problems that we never talk about, and that's our corporations. Because remember, these trade deals are not written with China and U.S. representatives. The U.S. representatives literally handed off to corporate lobbyists. Corporate lobbyists write these deals for us. And if you think about it, they don't have America's interest in mind. They have Apple's interest in mind. They have Intel's interest. They have all these corporations' interests. Why do you think the trade deals in the past have been so lopsided? Because both establishment Republicans and Democrats have said, yeah, we don't really care what happens to the manufacturing base or the average American worker. We just care about the donations that come in from all these corporations. So they just hand them off, and the corporations win by having their stuff made cheaper in China and then selling it here. So corporate rule is one of the giant underlying problems that we never address because the corporations in America are not on our side. They're on their side. So we've got to start writing these trade deals. And for God's sake, with Trump, you can't have him jumping around like a maniac. You can say maybe he'll get better later, but you have to live in the reality-based world. He screwed this up in the beginning. Now we're in a worse situation, not a better situation. Part of being tough is being strategic and smart about how you do it so that you can stay that course.
Okay, I mean, the other thing, of course, with Donald Trump is that... Yeah, quickly, Vinny.
I was just gonna say, Cenk, just because we're not shooting guns and dropping bombs doesn't mean we're not at war with China, bro. Trust me, they're poisoning the minds of the kids with their freaking TikTok crap. They send fentanyl through our freaking border that's killing Americans, all right? They steal all of how much more signs do you need to say that they are the enemy? Just because there's no bullet shot doesn't mean they're not the enemy, Cenk. And I think that attitude is the same attitude on why they've just been plowing us for all these years, because we're like, nah, they're not a real threat, bro. We were just pushed this thing, Russia's the threat, Putin this, Putin that. No, it's Xi Jinping and their freaking country, bro. A freaking dictator, communist that treats his citizens like freaking slaves, all right, Cenk? Like actual slaves. They have freaking slave work camps, and if you don't have this guy's picture up in your freaking house and they come in, you're finished. Your family disappears, all right, Cenk? This isn't a guy to take lightly, and Trump,
Vinny,
like I said, is the only one that's gonna step up and fight this guy, period. Done deal.
Vinny, they have people named Uyghurs, that's my last name, Uyghur Turks, in concentration camps. I understand exactly how bad the Chinese government is, but we don't need to go to war with them for no reason. Let's do tough economic sanctions that make sense, or tariffs that make sense, or other economic measures that make sense, that get parity and equality back for the American people. Let's not let our corporate goons write these deals in a way that advantages them and China and leaves out the average American. But we don't need to get militaristic, even though they're a terrible regime. I understand exactly how terrible they are, but we don't have to constantly push towards military conflict.
Very quickly, I just...
You know what, Cenk? Well, hang on. Don't talk at once. The interesting thing, Cenk, about that is that if you look at how aggressively China has been expanding its military in the last decade, and you look at the jungle drums beating about a possible invasion of Taiwan and what the impact of such an invasion would have, not least on America, given the amount of stuff that America gets in from Taiwan, the big ultimate military test may well come if Xi Jinping tries his luck and goes into Taiwan to see what America does. And China now has a military that is massively bigger and expanding at a terrifying rate, frankly, to potentially take on the United States in a military conflict. So I do think there's a slight naivety about, well, you can part the two things apart. One can be an economic war. We shouldn't have to worry about them militarily. I think there are enough signs there to suggest that absolutely the world should be waking up to the potential military threat from China. And absolutely we should be fearful of an invasion of Taiwan.
So, Piers, you don't have to be naive about it. And you don't have to say, hey, let's not prepare. Should we be thoroughly prepared if China takes military action? Of course we should. Same is true of Russia. But we didn't have to get, threatened to bring NATO all the way up to Russia's border. Nancy Pelosi didn't have to go to Taiwan to egg on the Chinese government. We are purposely pushing buttons in Russia and China that leads, and by the way, in the Middle East, that potentially leads to more war. Let's be prepared. Let's be tough. Let's make sure that they understand the consequences, and let's deliver those consequences if they go to a military route. But if we push them to a military route, or we try to get ahead of them, we're going to needlessly engage in military conflict that hurts all sides.
There are two wider parts of this which I think play into something we discussed on Bill Maher, Josh, which got a lot of reaction, as you know. One, of course, is Donald Trump's interactions with people and how he likes to bring people from the other side over to dinner and meet with them and sit down with them and break bread and stuff, as he did with Bill Maher, as he has done with Kim Jong-un on a much bigger global scale, of course. And that plays into also his negotiating skills, into how he navigates these relationships. But Josh, just to ask you about the Bill Maher thing, what struck me as quite interesting about some of the reaction. Some people were cheering you on when you took on Bill Maher for saying you thought it was compromising to his journalistic integrity. I think it was a kind of overarching theme for doing what he did, because Trump, you thought, was basically playing him. And other people were hammering you, saying, well, isn't this exactly what Bill Maher was talking about in his monologue about the dinner he had with Kid Rock and with Bill Maher and with Dana White from the UFC, obviously, and Donald Trump? That we've now reached a stage where people can't even go and meet with people from across the political divide without the people on the other side, or their side, throwing their toys out of a stroller and screaming and saying how disgusting this is. I was curious about your reaction to the reaction and whether you understood that. People were saying, well, this is exactly what Bill Maher's talking about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me the chance to react to the reaction. I mean, first of all, I don't think I was questioning his journalistic integrity at all, because I don't think he's a journalist and he's a comedian. And the first thing I said was that this is a tempest in a teapot. And, it's totally fine for people to go to meet with Trump and have dinner, and that there is not, that pretending that this is some sort of, summit or some sort of big event is really not true. So I don't think I tried to go to pains to not to criticize Bill for going, but to also make a nuanced point, which may have been lost by both sides, actually. And the nuanced point is simply that from Trump's perspective, I question whether or not he was engaged in the genuine conversation for a seek for middle ground that Bill Maher was engaged in. And we can have two thoughts inside of our head. One is that Bill Maher went to meet with Trump to seek a middle ground in a conversation to bridge the political divide and, heal the culture wars. And I believe Bill was trying to do that. And I'm skeptical that's not what Trump was trying to do, because of all of when you've met with Trump, that's always what he does. When I interviewed Trump, the first thing he said to me was, Josh, you're the best reporter I've ever seen, and you know the stuff. He had no idea who I was, but this is what he does. He charms you, and he tries to get you on his side, and then he tries to get you to tell whoever you're going to tell about the meeting that, oh, he's not that bad after all. And of course, that's exactly what happened. So I don't agree with people who say meeting him is some sort of bad thing, but I also don't agree with the people who say that somehow meeting with him is going to produce a good result. It's essentially a non-event, and and if we can sort of think of it as a PR stunt that had some cost and some benefit. Some benefit in that, oh well, we can sit together and have a meal together, and some cost in that you gave Trump this opportunity to put you on display and say, look, yeah, even Bill Maher is okay with me, then we can agree that there's a cost and a benefit, and people who are saying don't meet with him are wrong, and people who are saying meeting with him is going to do something are also wrong. And that was the nuance that I was trying to get across on the show. But you know, I feel like maybe in that moment, Bill felt that I was attacking him. I wasn't. I was, you know, I was trying to praise him, and that kind of seemed to make him a little even more upset. But you know, what are you going to do?
Well, I thought it was a ballsy move to whack him off the top. But what also struck me was, is there a slight hypocrisy? And only your answer will reveal whether there is here. You work for the Washington Post. Your owner, Jeff Bezos, has done a lot more than Bill Maher in crossing the divide with Trump. He used to be very critical of Trump. But in the last year and a half or so, or since his shooting actually, he seems to have performed a massive U-turn on Trump. He called him and praised him after he was shot at a New York Times event in December. Bezos said he was optimistic about a second Trump presidency. He had dinner at Mar-a-Lago in December 2024. He pledged $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. He attended the inauguration. Amazon, obviously one of his companies, main company, streamed Trump's inauguration on its Prime Video service and is also paying $40 million for a Melania Trump documentary. I mean, as a Washington Post senior journalist, how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, well, again, I don't think I wasn't trying to criticize Bill, and if it came off that way, then maybe I didn't craft my critique perfectly. I was trying to criticize the idea that you know, engagement with Trump is some sort of, you know, bridge towards healing the cultural divide, because I just don't think that's going to be the result. And I think when business leaders go to meet with Trump, that's a different set of calculations. And I work at the Washington Post. I'm not privy to what goes on at the ownership level. You know, I just work there. You know, I'm not part of the management. I'm not part of the ownership. I've never met Jeff Bezos. I don't know what his calculations are. And I don't, that's above my pay grade, Piers. It's not a duck. It's just I don't have any insight into what goes on above me at the Washington Post. All I can say is that I'm not against engagement, and I understand that Trump is the president, and business leaders have to engage with the president, and the way that they do it matters. You know, that's how I feel about it. And you know.
All right, but Josh, look. If it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. I mean, you can appreciate that if you're Bill Maher watching you refusing to be remotely critical of what your own owner has done with Trump in terms of kissing the ring, you could potentially see that he might think there's a double standard there.
No, I see what you're trying to do, Piers, but I'm not in a position to comment on Jeff Bezos, because if I comment on Jeff Bezos, then I could be fired from my job, and you know that. So I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I want to be honest with you, so I don't seem to be dodging your question. And my honest answer from my heart is, you know, every person that engages with this administration, including all the people on this panel, including you, including me, has to make that judgment based on their own calculations and their own values and their own interests. And we have to be careful not to judge each other for where we all come down on that. And you know, that's the best answer I can give you, being honest without losing my job, and also being true to what I think is very consistent, which is the same approach I had to Bill Maher, which is engagement is good, and the way that you do it matters, and your expectations of Trump's response should be very limited. And that's my effort to answer you honestly, Piers, without getting fired from my job, and without but to trying to prove to you that I do have a very consistent philosophy on this, which is not going to please the Trumpsters and is not going to please the liberals, because I'm neither a Trumpster nor a liberal.
Okay, Cenk, you're smirking a bit there. Are you buying the Josh, I'm not ducking it, Rogan response there?
No, I have sympathy for the brother. I understand the situation he's in, but I disagree with him on both counts. I think that you shouldn't be overly naive, of course, going to talking to Trump. You shouldn't be naive at all, but you also shouldn't be overly cynical. So naive is, I'm going to go talk to Trump, and he's instantly going to change his mind and agree with me. Of course, that's not going to happen, right? But cynical is, there's no value in talking to the other side. There's no value in talking to the U.S. president. You just shouldn't do it at all. You don't platform him.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And commander-in-chief. Yeah, so like, of course Bill should go to talk to him. I would go to talk to him in a second, but I wouldn't go in there thinking like, I've got some sort of magical answer and Trump's going to now come out a progressive or an actual populist rather than a fake populist. But does it make sense?
I'm sorry, I tried. This is actually not anywhere near as important as I thought it was going to be. It really isn't. I'm not talking about anything. It's just. Jeez. Do I even want to? Not really. Fangirling over Luigi. Oh. 5.2 earthquake. Taking over her role at the Daily Wire. No, not really. I'm not interested in that. Next to John asked her about Christianity. Why does this seem like this might be? I've been given like 10 minutes. Archie or Minotaur? I think Itachi has more more swag, and like they might, people probably like kind of confuse that with aura. I mean, swag does kind of play a part, but nah, Minotaur has more aura. I mean, shit, he was a Hokage, and he was the fastest nigga alive. So sorry. Can I make this smaller? Why they make that square so big? Shit. Israel's influence on America. Do I even want to look at this? I did Candace stuff yesterday. I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. Daughter reveals she's pregnant. Parents unload on her. Well, unfortunate. Maybe. I'm having a hard time like picking stuff to like look at. It's like I'm struggling here. Do I really want to? Not really. Not that. Okay. I guess I will do it. Let me see what Tucker Carlson's been getting into. I was just building my shit the other day. That shit I built. First thing I built was a server. I didn't even start small. I just went straight to like a server grade like build, which is just like wild.
Bro, speaking of the Red Sea splitting, because he split the entire.
Bro, come on, bro.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Bro, that's scary, bro.
Hold on, let's talk about that, B-Lou, because we know that the ocean is deep than a.
Bro.
Like super deep.
Quit playing.
He split all the waters in the air. So how did it cross over, B-Lou?
Got to run it. I would have did a full.
You're not listening. The water is deep. It's in there.
Hold on. God damn it.
Hold on, chat.
Now hold on, bro.
If the water was
deep,
deep,
making it like the just went straight across like that. You had to go
you
down.
Gotta go down, but not just down, like down.
That's what the Zeke. But then they get a head start though. They said they got a head start though.
Oh,
right?
that's a sea. It's a lake.
They said they got a head start though. Remember they said it was a day or two ahead, right?
Okay,
it's a lake.
It's a little better.
Hold on, what? It was the Red Sea. He parted. He split. What?
Hold on.
It wasn't that deep. It gradually decreased height. It was a sea or a lake. What's the difference?
Oceans are larger bodies of water than seas.
Okay. How deep is a sea? The average.
12,000 feet.
Yeah, come on. Like no. Yeah, okay. So he was right.
That's still deep.
It's still deep. Because how did they get?
Hold on. Go back to this real quick. Yeah. Is it tabs?
Yeah, tabs.
How deep is a sea? How deep is a sea? How deep is what's a comparison? What's a comparison?
The Red Sea. How deep is the Red Sea?
Oh, how deep is the Red Sea?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what's a comparison? How deep is the Red Sea? 9,000 feet. 10,000. So basically 10,000. What am I trying to say, Zeke? How comparison? How how what am I trying to say? Like, how can we compare? Not compare. How do we how do we determine 10,000 feet into a human brain?
Wait, what?
I'm trying to figure out. See, you know what I'm trying to say, bro? Like, how do we determine 10,000 feet into my mind? What, bro?
What?
Hold on.
Are you trying to say how do you perceive?
Hold on, bro. I'm trying to
How can
think.
you perceive
Like,
10,000 feet?
What's the like? If I was looking up, how
If you
far is
wanted to
10,000 feet?
compare-
You know what I'm saying? Like,
What you mean?
Like-
Hey Elijah, what's going on?
No,
Sorry,
like,
I'm just
bro,
like,
I'm just-
I
I'm
just
trying
was
to, like-
like,
I'ma give you
looking at
perspective,
something
bro.
random
Give
real quick
okay,
just
give me
to figure out
perspective,
this
bro.
was. I'm about to get into a Tucker Carlson video in a moment.
Tower. Height.
Eiffel Tower? Isn't it the Eiffel?
Therapy has always
Eiffel
been
Eiffel.
such a scary idea to me because
Eiffel?
I
Isn't
simply
it
did not know where to
isn't
get
it
started.
Why
I
do you
didn't know how to
come
find my
right now?
person. I did not know where to go.
Isn't it Eiffel? I'm not crazy, right?
How tall is the Eiffel
Yeah,
Tower?
yeah.
The Eiffel Tower. That tall ass tower is 1,000 feet.
Eiffel.
So
That's
it'll
what I'm
be
saying. Like,
Times that times
9.
That man said Eiffel. Oh my God.
I'm saying you
Alright,
talking
that's
about looking
enough.
up.
Okay, we got
That's
the Eiffel
enough. I
Tower right
can't
here.
do
So
this
times
no
10.
more.
That's 1, 2, 3.
No, the Eiffel Tower is already.
All right. That's enough. We're just gonna go ahead. Let's get to our Tucker Carlson video.
Figuring out your perfect
This
daily
one's
schedule
apparently
is
about,
all
like, the
about
real
planning for
reason
each day's
we've been having
specific
plane
needs. So
crashes.
ask yourself these questions
So
before
I'm
you
sure
start.
this is going to be
So you've been flying for a living since 1991. So that's almost 35 years, which is amazing.
a great conspiracy.
For the rest of us, we're about the same age. It seems like commercial air travel in the United States has declined in like at a shocking rate. It's just much worse. A lot of things have gotten better. We have the internet and iPhones. Why is commercial air travel in this country, and not around the world, but in this country specifically, like much worse than it was? What is that?
It's so cringe. It's like kind of like
I think
Western.
legitimately, there's been a corporate
intro. What
change
the
in this
hell is
country. ESG started to take over. You've got the Larry Finks of the world that are driving corporations or CEOs toward issues that not necessarily are customer oriented.
Yeah.
And so
Air travel. See, now they got me spelling like I'm mad now. Air travel in the U.S. Oh my God, bro! I see. This is why I shouldn't have played that video, bro. They really got me really like. Is it like infectious to just your brain cells to just stop operating when you want to just think of something? You just want to spell something. I can't over the years. I have to just go with that for right now. Let's see. Great Recession. Traffic in the U.S. has declined. The U.S. government reported 1.2 million scheduled domestic flights in 2013 than in 2007. Air traffic volume has also dropped. But that's not what he's saying, though. What he's saying, like the way he's presenting it like worse as in crashes, right? Even his thumbnail, if I'm not mistaken, even his, do I have it? Come on. Yeah, even the thumbnail, right, has a thing crash. So like, well, let's say air travel accidents. Let's just say accidents, right? Not necessarily crashes, but air travel accidents in the U.S. over the years. Like, it couldn't have been. It couldn't have possibly been like that crazy. And like I would have thought, if this graph is anything to believe, right? If this graph is anything to believe, this obviously looks like it's been getting better. Because I was saying, like, I don't recall, I don't recall ever coming across an argument that air travel in the U.S. has become less and less safe over the years. It might seem like that this particular year after Trump, like what didn't he gut like the safety commission or whatever it was, right? And like if I want to be fair, I could be like, well, that's just like circumstantial. It is odd that immediately matches with then like we just start having more accidents and stuff. But if I want to be fair, I could be like, that was just circumstantial. Maybe that's just that could just be a pun from God on what it is he's doing. But yeah, like I don't recall ever learning or hearing that the U.S. air travel in the U.S. has becoming less and less safe for like the last 15-20 years. Like that's just not a thing, especially after 9/11. like after 9/11, like you can see right here, blip, right, but then going down, blip, but then we're going down, blip, little increase right here, then we're going down, blip, still like overall trend is low. Or maybe he's looking at this part right here and he's like, well, you look at this here, then we started having more stuff there. But I'm personally am looking at this. I'm looking at fatal because, like, obviously we had some pretty fatal crashes, and obviously that completely diminished. Not for this year. For this year, like, we got helicopter crashes, aircrafts being hit by military helicopters and all that good stuff. But even a serious block looks like it's like even less or smaller. Maybe not this one. These one might be on par, but these these wouldn't count because they have a much larger fatal blocks. I don't know. That didn't sound like that was like a correct statement. But okay, we're on a good start.
ESG doesn't help the customer?
Well, not the internal customer anyway. So as we go through this process, this slow creep, those need to set an investment score. People with differing ideas of customer service and what's important are able to drive forward their message. So we get away from customer service. Airlines run on three things, right? They run on fuel, planes, and people. When we start taking the people out of the mix, right? Because it's all about buying more airplanes. It's about driving that score so we can drive the share prices so that we can then get the lower financing rate to get airplanes. We go away from that time when a Gordon Bethune or a Herb Kelleher said,
Why do you always feel mentally drained? It all boils down to one phenomenon, decision fatigue. Believe it or not, both you and I make about 30...
Said, you take care of your internal people. They'll take care of your customer. So everything's bottom line now, Tucker.
And yet ESG is not really, like, strictly speaking, bottom line. It pleases Larry Fink, who's probably done more than any person to really hurt this country, but sidebar. But it, for your...
Oh, is this going to just be about like some kind of conspiracy about like some random ass like company? Do I really want to listen to this? ESG, isn't that like the company that like the investing thing for like green energy, like green initiatives, maybe equity stuff and whatnot. ESG. Environmental social governance. Yeah, see? Of course. Like, bro, why can't you just find something new to talk about? Why is it always just like this make-believe stuff? Like, Rev. Jeez, hold on. I'm realizing my thing over here is like messed up, so I need to fix it. Bro, I'm like so badly congested. I cannot wait for pollen season to be over with. I'm like dying. I can just and then I just need to now movie down. Yeah. Or yeah, I guess I do like level down, up. Come on, level you. Come on, mouse, stop. Can I use the mouse? Can I use the? Oh, I can. See that? That's beautiful. Hold on, sorry. Just fixing another blemish I notice. And my mouse is like OD sensitive for whatever reason. All right, we're back. Let's get back to it.
Average customer, you're like, well, you get the feeling that like incompetent people are in air traffic control, incompetent people are in the cockpit. I don't know if that's true or not, but it shakes people's faith, scares the crap out of people, and then planes start crashing, and you're like, that's why. That seems like against the core interest of the business.
I would agree, but because people at the corporate level want to drive the interest rates down to be able to grow, because it's all about expanding. Who is the biggest, right? And so they have to follow some of those mandates.
Yes.
And so then we start looking at a particular CEO who said in 21, 50% of my incoming pilots will be women or people of color. First of all, that number is impossible. They don't exist. But when you take merit out of it and you start hiring people based on an attribute that has nothing to do with flying airplanes or controlling them, you start moving down a path of incompetence, and it breeds itself all the way down throughout every department in the airline.
Nicely put. I should note the obvious, which is that you are a woman, and you started flying, you said, commercially in 1991, the year I left college. So like, there can't have been too many female pilots flying commercially in 1991.
The original 21 female airline pilots broke the glass ceiling. I didn't break it, but it kind of crawled through because of them. And, on we go. But in all of my career, I've always been one of the guys. I'm an airman. I'm proud to be an airman. You can't call me an air person.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know how to find my person. I did not know where to go until BetterHelp came in and helped me solve a lot of those problems. With BetterHelp, I got started on my therapy journey, and I actually went through a couple of different.
Why was it everything?
I've earned it because I've done exactly what everyone else has done. And so when a passenger comes on and they look in the cockpit now today, they look a little sideways if there's a woman up here.
Definitely.
And especially if I might be sitting next to a Hispanic or an African American, they're wondering how we got our jobs.
Yes, that is absolutely right.
DEI hurts those that weren't a product of it as well.
Oh my God, why? Why is racism so entrenched in like this, in this like make-believe type of like fantasy hirings? Holy, like, God help me. Like, is it that just astronomically unusual for a woman or a non-white person to be in a particular job, right? Now, I understand that maybe in some random small backwater country somewhere, right? State, wherever, that some company probably took DEI too far and was like, we're going to go above and beyond in trying to get this particular person hired because of these attributes, right? I'm sure that has happened and I'm sure that exists. By and large, that's just not a realistic thing. Like, for example, like we're going to hire more women and people of color pilots. Okay, that doesn't excuse that there's still a whole aviation certification program. Like I'm sorry, like that's like Delta saying that they're going to go out of their way to go hire more women pilots doesn't just mean that all of a sudden they're just going to scoop up a bunch of people and be like, here, you're now certified to fly. Here, you're now certified to fly. Like that's just not how that works. Like that, and it's so sad that this is just the narrative that they just keep on wanting to play. Like you got all these masses of people. Because basically what they're saying is that if you see anybody that is non-white or a woman, you should question whether they have gotten there because they know how to do their job. Anywhere you go, that's basically what they're saying, which is just it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And then there's never any evidence. Like there's never any evidence, right? They pick off like these really like fringe, right? Because don't get me wrong, I have seen companies do this where like they have sitting there and they have gone out of their way to give additional chances. But at the end of the day, if you're not qualified, they will not hire you. They cannot use you. What you might be upset with is that they might give that person more chances and more opportunities to get qualified, to do things that companies should have audited anyway, instead of like sitting there and being like, well, I'm looking for somebody that has 5 years of experience, and you don't have 5 years experience, so I'm not going to take an interest in your application, right? And you deal with that, and then you see someone be like, well, I do want more women in our company, so like you have 3 years of experience, something we can work with that. Saying if you're not too sure about some things, we'll work with you to help you train you up and some shit that you should have just like been trying to like divvy out to just people, period. Not just because like they meet a particular criteria, right? That's going to be the argument to give, but that's so far and few between, because at the end of the day, a business still has to be able to run its business. It still has to be able to actually like achieve its stated goals. You know what I'm saying? Like if you hire somebody that can't do the job and then the company suffers, the company's going to let them go. They're not going to just be like, well, this is our token black person. We can't let them go even though they're shitty at their jobs, right? They got to be our token black person, so we have quota. That doesn't work in the real world. That's not real. And this is what they'll swear up and down to you is what happens. It's so stupid.
And that's unfair to me and to my coworkers.
So have you noticed this internally? You said a CEO of an airline announced 4 years ago that we're going to hire.
And just to be clear, again, the thing I was talking about where I've actually seen it, this is from what somebody who was a beneficiary of that was sitting there telling me, right? And I've only seen it once. in the many years I have been around, I've only personally seen that being the case one time. And other stories that I have heard, right, has always been self-correcting in the end. Because at the end of the day, the company has to still be able to achieve their stated objective or goal. If they can't do that, they can't use you. You cannot use you, right? They might be more lenient in getting you trained up, but it's just not real. They don't just like, okay, you know, random person off the street because you're a woman, you're now a pilot. Congratulations. And then they throw you straight in the plane. Like that's not real. It's not real. And the fact that they're gonna blame that on these plane crashes is just crazy too. That's what's like also so crazy.
Percent female or non-white pilots, but do you feel that as a pilot? Do you notice the standards changing?
I don't know that I noticed the standard changing, but I know what's expected of me has changed. Quarterly, we have a computer-based training, and it was kind of insidious the way they crept it in here. First, it's a little, don't discriminate against people. The next thing is a little more. At my
Spring is all about fresh starts, getting your life in order, resetting routines, decluttering. But if you've been feeling anxious or depressed, all of that can feel super overwhelming. Anxiety often peaks this time of year because there's this pressure to get moving, to have it all figured out, to keep up. And when you're not where you want to be, that pressure can make it feel like you're losing control, like anxiety's taking over and you're just along for the ride. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Why is there so many ads just laced?
At my airline last year, I was asked in the DEI training to certify that Tom says, who is now Kathy, that he's a woman. Therefore, he's always been a woman. Now, wait a minute. I'm a faithful person. He's a dude in a dress. Yes. And I am not going to agree that I will believe that he's always been a woman. So I said no. Several people said no. We had to apply for religious accommodations. And then we were asked to do what we always do, which is just treat people with dignity and respect. I've done that forever. You know, I don't care who you love, right? But I will always treat you with dignity and respect, but only because of the pushback. Now, this year's training, they've dialed it back, but they're trying to creep the things in that don't matter, Tucker. What matters is how to fly an approach. Do you know the regulations? Are you safe, right? This other stuff is distracting, and it's distracting at the FAA as well.
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea. But first...
So, how has anyone explained why it's relevant, the color of a pilot?
No, I have no idea.
So it started with we have, you're probably racist. We have to make you non-racist.
Sure.
And then it goes from there to it's really important. The skin color of a pilot is really important somehow, but no one ever says why.
No, or whether they wear a dress or pants,
right.
In my case. So, in the U.S., 96.4% of all pilots are male.
Yep.
Right? So there's less than 4% female airline transport pilots. We can do everything, and I'm an advocate for doing everything we can to get people interested in the job. But Tucker, there are some people who just don't need to be doing the job either. And you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. I can teach anyone to fly, sure. But there's some that I would not want to fly in my family.
Have you seen those people?
Oh, yeah.
Give me an example.
One of my first students, female.
The secret isn't waking up earlier or cramming in more meetings or trying another productivity system that demands more of your time. The secret is motion.
I want to know if the example she's going to give, did that person end up being a pilot? Did that person end up being a pilot, and how? Let's see.
Female, I tried to teach her how to fly. She could fly, but she just couldn't put it back together. When you go around, it's push the power up, and it was dainty. It was just some skill sets that they just don't have, an aggression and, a willingness to get out there and learn it.
To manhandle the machine, right?
Yeah, you have to be in control, especially in a Cessna, right?
Yeah.
It's not like my auto throttle Big 767, autopilot, et cetera. But the bigger problem we're having today is because it's a lucrative career, a lot of people.
What the hell kind of what? You start off saying she could fly a plane, but she's too dinky with the thing. She doesn't manhandle the. Oh my God, bro! I don't know if I can make it through. I didn't know Tucker Carlson videos was that difficult. They're laced with so much just bullshit. It's just bullshit. I will just outright say that they're laced with just so much bullshit. I can't believe it. I can smell it. It's just I had to sit there wipe my nose. Just the amount of bullshit that's just laced in this video. It's just so crazy, right? You see what I'm talking about? Do you not see what I'm talking about? Notice, right? Like I said, at the end of the day, you have to be able to do the job. And even the example she even gives doesn't even make sense as to why she picked that example when a person can fly the plane. She just doesn't like that she doesn't manhandle because she just a woman, like, but like, I guess a woman or something like is that like the is that what like the implication underneath that is that you're just not being I don't even know what to even call that. That sounds crazy. It just sounds so crazy. I'm trying to figure out too why. So this is like freezing up on me, and I don't know what to do about it. Don't know what to do about it. Do you think it'll run better? I don't want to have to do it on a computer. I want to be able to like pull it up off of my phone like this. But maybe I should just give up and do it on my computer. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Does it? Let me do a quick Google search real quick. This is unrelated. Mindustry save transfer mobile to, because if I could transfer back and forth, I'll do it. Found this, which works like a charm for anyone who's having this problem. Export the game data from your phone. Using your phone, email yourself a copy of that file on your computer. Download the file, place the copy into a folder on your desktop. Open the folder. It holds the item you just downloaded. Unzip. Now, like this person said, type app data. Okay, yeah, so that's just, you're just gonna go wherever the Mindustry stuff is. Okay, cool. Take the settings bin file out of the Mindustry folder that was already on the computer. Put it somewhere it stays keeping. Take all the files in the download and export and insert them into the folder. Mindustry should now have previews, folders, saves, folder save. This will be named whatever name. Use the call this file. It's the one you exported on your phone. Opening a computer and all your stuff should be, because I guess my phone has gotten too old. I'll like have to like go back to, because I'm actually playing this game on my phone. It's actually off of my phone. I'm gonna have to just wait until I get a new phone, right? I don't know when I'm gonna get a 5090 to fix my encoder being trash, but at least you know, at least I can at least guarantee that I will be picking up a phone. I'm waiting for that fold phone to come out because that's what I really want. Game data. Research, click campaign saves. Export data. Here, I can export it into downloads. Over here on my phone and see here. Yeah, because I'm not about to sit there and just like so I'm not that trash at this game. It looks like I'm trash because this damn shit's just not trying to invalid zip. What do you mean? Oh, no, it just, I don't know why I called it that, but no, it's there. It is there. It's there in its proper form. Let me. I'm gonna throw it on my OneDrive so I can just grab it. Okay. Close this now. Come on. Oh, I hate my mouse. It's just like so much. There we are. So I'm gonna leave that here, and I'm going to now download Mindustry. Let's see. Download directly. Do I have to get it from? Oh, I have to buy it on Steam. Yeah. Yeah. Let me do that on my phone real quick so I don't leak nothing. You know, just because I really appreciate the game that much that I would sit there and buy it twice. That's probably the reason why I was always going off of my phone. They want to buy it twice, but no, I'll sit there and I'll buy the PC. I wonder if they have any season on. They're still updating though. April 2025. They're still updating. See what I got. All right, I'm just looking at just like these suggestions. You know what we haven't played in a while? Supermarket Simulator. I really missed that. At this the clothing store simulator. Seemed interesting. This seemed interesting. I need to check to see if they ever updated the Supermarket Simulator because I'm still waiting for that bug fix. But all right, that's enough of that. Let's just go ahead and let me buy my things now and let's go ahead. Right. Cool. It is purchased. Now let's go ahead. Let's jump on to Steam. I have Steam on here. Yeah, I know. Steam on here because I play a supermarket game on it. Okay. Okay.
They've been talked into getting involved, and so they.
Don't I? Yeah. Oh. Called.
They see the money. They might not be quite fit for it. I'm also a college professor. I teach human factors for Indiana Wesleyan, so I deal with a lot of the undergraduates and the people coming up. People quit their jobs midlife. Oh, I'm going to chase the money. They don't realize what they're doing. And it's a different generation. And my son is of that generation, so I don't want to speak badly of them, but the priorities are different, right? And so to get them to understand the commitment that it takes.
Spring is all about fresh starts, getting your life in order, resetting routines, decluttering. But if you've been feeling anxious or depressed, all of that can feel super overwhelming. Anxiety often peaks this time of year because there's this pressure to get
commitment that it takes to succeed in this career and to get all the way through it. And then to have them, it's kind of entitlement, if I can say that, and they grow up. And I don't want people to think I'm saying, I walked a mile in the snow to school, therefore you're not qualified, right? But airplane technology has changed. We learned to manhandle those Cessna 172s. And from that, we learned how to manhandle the next biggest airplane. These kids are growing up in glass cockpits with computers. They're learning to fly with their fingers. When they get to the airlines, it's not an aviator that's coming there, it's an operator. And so when they take off, put the autopilot on, fly the autopilot with auto throttles to landing. Ask Al Haynes in Sioux City, Iowa, how to fly an airplane without an autopilot. He saved a lot of lives. That skill is not there. And it takes time to build that skill. We could even take those young 1,500 hours, and we're doing it. But it takes a
Spring is all about fresh starts, getting your life in order, resetting routines, decluttering. But if you've been feeling anxious or depressed,
why the fuck is this?
It takes a long time to mentor. So we've got pilots now that are coming in.
In 9 minutes. In 9 minutes, bro, we have seen like at least 8 ads. This is crazy, bruv. God damn. Like, bro, like you
minimum skills, having learned on glass cockpits, and in a year upgrading to captain. I had 12 years of watching the good and the bad of the airline world, and I took the good from them, and I left the bad behind. And I think I'm a pretty decent captain now. But those kids are jumping so fast. And then they're running the unions because they're young and they're eager. And so us old people are saying, hey, you know what? We're at a critical moment where we don't have qualified pilots. We'd like to keep them a little longer. We'd be willing to work an extra couple of years, but they vote and they say, no, get out of my seat, old man or old woman. Excuse me. They don't want to raise the pilot age. So the Airline Pilots Association is complicit in the problem.
It feels like everything is fine until there's a problem. So you read about, even now, you read about planes stalling. Something happens and the plane just falls out of the sky. And I've read a number of times of trained pilots who, apply the throttle and point upwards as it's stalling, which I don't think is the right. I think it's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. But they panic under pressure. So that seems like a huge problem if you're not screening carefully for temperament, ability to think clearly under duress, and you're not allowing people to accumulate relevant experience before turning over the cockpit to them, no?
I would agree.
Like describe, if you don't mind, since you've flown for so long, a scenario where something goes wrong unexpectedly and you have to think independently from the autopilot.
Well, the most dangerous part of your flight, most people don't know it, is takeoff in a jet.
Yeah.
Right?
Why? Why is it most dangerous?
As we get to the end of the runway at critical speed, V1, we call it, V1, liftoff, the airplane is at full power and you have an engine failure. Now you have asymmetrical thrust. And so it's very critical to lower the nose, do the proper steps. And a lot of times there's critical terrain. So we have a path we have to fly. And a lot of things are happening very quickly. And so doing it by the book is what we train for over and over and over again.
Losing an engine on takeoff.
It is the most critical point of your entire flight. And so that's what we train for. That's what they pay me for. They don't pay me for the simple stuff, landings and cruise at altitude and all that. They pay me for that V1 cut.
Really? V1 cut?
Yes, right at the speed, we call it V1, velocity 1. So at that critical speed is when we V1, rotate the airplane off the runway, engine failure, asymmetrical thrust, kicks in a whole bunch of rudder in a 7.6. It takes a lot. You just stand on it, get it straight, and fly it up to roughly 800 feet, lower the nose, work the checklist. And it's a two-man job. That's a critical reason we can't go to single pilot.
How is it a two-man job?
Because somebody's got to read the checklist and somebody's got to fly the airplane. I can't fly that airplane looking down at that checklist.
I mean, that does happen, right?
Mm-hmm. And everyone we've had that I can remember has been extremely successful.
Really? Mm-hmm. So people survived them all?
People survived. The last actual death in the U.S. transport category outside of the commuters, 2005, Southwest, and it actually wasn't on board the plane. It was at the gas station across the street at Midway. So we have an incredible safety record. But we have that safety record because of the people up front, right? The system's kind of working against us, though. I don't know if you've seen the preliminary results of the DCA midair.
No.
We have a serious problem.
So describe what you think happened there.
It's not what I think happened.
So DCA, the plane that hit the helicopter over the Potomac.
Right, the helicopter that hit the airplane.
DCA being the in-town airport in Washington.
Yeah, speak in language.
Washington Reagan National.
Thank you. No, I know what I know from watching the NTSB press conference. And the chairwoman was speaking. She explained several things. It's only preliminary. No blame was assigned at this point. I have my personal belief on blame. But the design of the system failed those passengers. Okay? The way that route through there was designed, they looked back for 11 years. 945 plus thousand potential incursions in 11 years. My teeth hit the floor.
I mean, I thought we had air traffic control to prevent that.
We do, but the problem she detailed is the design of the system. That approach, if the helicopter is in the right place, the perfect ideal place, the clearance between the approaching aircraft and the helicopter at one point is as low as 75 feet.
Come on.
Watch her debrief. I was astounded. The rotor blades on that helicopter are like 30 feet radius. Holy cow. And now we know the helicopter was outside of the ideal place. And obviously, 75 feet, Tucker. When I pre-flight an airplane, between my first officer and myself, the regulation says they have to be within 75 feet. So right there, we've taken out the protection. What in the world was the FAA doing?
And this is in the nation's capital. And these are military helicopters and commercial aircraft. All eyes are on that airport. That airport has all kinds of restrictions on it after 9/11. You know better than anybody. Yeah. No private aviation, all this stuff. They really pay a lot of attention. It's like 10 seconds from the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're that sloppy at DCA, of all airports,
right?
What the hell are they doing in Santa Monica or wherever?
Wichita or
LAX,
Boma. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Where does the data go? The problem is the FAA is twofold master, right? A regulatory body and a promotion of the industry. So
what is it? I'm sorry, I don't know what that means, promotion of the industry.
The charge to the FAA is to promote air travel in the United States and to regulate it.
Huh.
That's been their mandate from the beginning, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So they're the policeman and the PR agent?
I guess, because how did Boeing get the right to self-certify the MAX, right?
What does it mean, self-certify the MAX?
So an inspector didn't have to go look at the 737 MAX. Boeing had the right to certify it itself.
Really?
That's been pulled back. Everything that happens in aviation, every regulation happens as the result of blood, right? And so nobody's being proactive in this agency. Now, I love Secretary Duffy, and I love his attitude, and it looks like the new nominee for the FAA administrator is great. But the question is the next level bureaucrats. These are people who have, for their entire careers, be it at, and a lot came from the military, they like sitting behind green government desks and drinking government coffee. And so, to have to get up and go over there and look at those reports or do something with them, that's got to change.
So last year I get home, there are all these boxes in the kitchen. I wonder what these are. I open up one, and they are tortilla chips made by a company I never heard of called Masa. Masa chips are not like other tortilla chips in that they are all natural. There are only 3 ingredients in the chips, and there are no seed oils whatsoever. My wife ordered these because she's a healthy person.
Can't be right.
And so I immediately hit them hard.
Fries, everything's pissing me off. First off, the shit he's just saying, I'm sorry, because I'm just like, I'm paying attention to what he's saying. It's just full of bullshit, right? If I sit there and pilot speaks, pilot talks about DC crash.
I'm here with Chief Warrant Officer 3, retired Austin Roth, president of Break Turn, former Army helicopter pilot, current airline pilot. Views are our own, don't represent any airline or the military or DOD. I want to get that out of the way. But he has some amplifying information that we wanted to talk about regarding the mishap in the DCA area at the Potomac. And before we get started, Austin, thanks for joining us. And what is your background specifically?
Taxes was feeling.
Well, yesterday, folks, a Bell 206 helicopter crashed into the Hudson River on a tourist tour. Everybody's life was lost on that aircraft, and let's take a look at what led up to this incident, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts on what happened.
We are 39 at the back of the statue looking for Bravo tour information pop-up. Pier 38 near Sarah, Squawk the Street, radar contact 700, traffic about a quarter mile east-to westbound indicating 600. We cleared in a 1,500, altimeter 3033. So 1,500, this is New York 38.
Let's talk about the lead up to what happens here in this incident. This Bell helicopter is taking tourists on a tour of the Hudson River, and I've actually done this very tour before, not in a helicopter, but in a T-34 Bravo with a friend of mine. And there's a VFR course.
That's actually it. That is not the video. He is the guy. It's really come on, I know. That long. Where is this video at? It should be right here. Do I need to just do a Google, man? Because he did such a good job. Pilot. Pilot talks about DC. Hey, it was in DC, wasn't it? No, it was in New York. Wasn't it New York? Or was it DC? I thought it was DC. Wasn't it DC? Talks about is this shit like just buried now and you just can't find it? All about the fucking Hudson River. About and the really. Yo, my computer is like fighting me right now. I really want the pilot because he did such a good job breaking it down. I don't want to play the original video because I don't want to sit there explain it like I'm some kind of like piloting expert, but it look like it might just come down to that. But my congestion is killing me too. Oh, what? I guess he must have took that video down. Whatever reason. That's sad. I guess we are just gonna end up just playing the original.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Now Taxes.
Pass 25, get CRJ in sight. Pass 25, pass behind this CRJ.
At 8:47 p.m., an Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with a regional jet in the nation's capital. The crash occurred over the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport, killing 67 people. It's one of the most restricted airspaces in the country, but this particular area has long worried pilots like retired Army officer Daryl Feller.
That's probably the most dangerous spot on all those routes in D.C.
So here's everything we know about why that area is so precarious. The 33-mile radius around Washington, D.C. is considered a special flight rules area. Pilots have to have advanced clearance from the FAA to fly here, and aircraft must have altitude encoding transponders, among other things. Within that, there's a 17-mile flight-restricted zone around Reagan Airport, with even stricter rules. And then there are prohibited areas around the White House, National Mall, and the Vice President's residence. But even with the restrictions, it's still one of the most congested airspaces in the country, with civilian, military, police, and other government aircraft constantly operating. To help manage this, DC has designated helicopter corridors, as well as altitude restrictions to keep everyone safe. So what happened during the crash? Flight data shows the Black Hawk helicopter flying south down a helicopter corridor over the Potomac River. Military officials say the pilots were experienced and were conducting an annual night training mission known as a check ride. Meanwhile, American Airlines Flight 5342 was traveling north toward Reagan National. It was originally supposed to land on runway 1, with a flight path that goes up the river. But at approximately 8:42 p.m., minutes before landing, the jet was told to use a different, shorter runway.
Check runway 33.
Crashed.
Yeah, we can do 33 for Blue 6342. Change to turn for runway 33, clear to land.
Runway changes aren't unusual, but it meant the plane had to bow right before turning sharply left and cutting across the helicopter corridor. A move that pilots say makes the jet hard for helicopters to see, especially at a low altitude.
Confusion with ground lights is what it's called. When you're flying south and you get just to the east of the airport, off to the left is southeast DC. And so there's a lot of city lights, street lights. I-295 is over there, so there's a lot of vehicle lights. What happens is low-flying aircraft will get lost in the background of all those city lights, and you can't see them if they're moving towards you, away from you, or you can't see them at all.
There are also questions about staffing of air traffic control that night and whether more people should have been working. Another potential problem was altitude. Helicopters are supposed to fly below 200 feet in this part of the corridor, but flight data shows the helicopter may have risen above 300 feet as the airplane was descending from 400 feet. Officials say data from the aircraft's recording device still needs to be investigated to confirm, but Feller says even if altitude was a factor, something else likely went wrong before that.
A professional Army aviator is not going to fly within 100 feet of a passenger jet. He's just not going to do that. I would suspect that he didn't see the jet.
During a press briefing, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said this.
There was some sort of an elevation issue that we have immediately begun investigating at the DoD and Army level. Army CID is on the ground investigating. Top-tier aviation assets inside the DoD are investigating, sir, to get to the bottom of it so that it does not happen again, because it's absolutely unacceptable.
After the crash, the FAA announced it would restrict helicopter traffic in the area where the Black Hawk was traveling.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Now Taxes is having a TurboTax expert who does your taxes from start to finish. While you check in anytime.
Almost died. Promise.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small businesses, from farmers to factories. Clean energy fuels lives and livelihoods.
Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele has become one of the biggest right-wing icons in the world. His crackdown on El Salvador's gangs has inspired many in the U.S. conservative movement, especially members of Trump's inner circle.
A lot of us in the MAGA movement believe that the good ideas we've seen in El Salvador, we can learn from.
Bukele has agreed to accept U.S. detainees at El Salvador's megaprison, making him a key player in Trump's mass deportation strategy.
I have great respect for him. I know him. He's very tough on crime.
But concern is growing over Bukele's increasingly close relationship with Trump and many of his allies. Since taking office in 2019, Bukele has helped turn a country that was once the murder.
Go back. So I hope that video just shows that there's so much more to that plane crash than what the Chinitra trying to do, because that plane crash is not because of DEI or like wherever it is. It's just in fact I don't even play it no more because it just is so, it lacks such like actual critical thinking and whatnot. I can't do it.
Taking to Southern California now, which is hit by a 5.2 earthquake. Video from the San Diego Zoo Safari Park shows elephants making what experts call an alert circle. They say it is a natural received response to threats to protect the herd. The quake was also felt as far away as Los Angeles and over the border into.
The American airline industry is a highly
On the set of the iconic Nickelodeon sitcom Drake and Josh, the two boys seem to be best friends.
We're approaching the end of.
Why is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers? Like, chill guys, just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension, and it basically.
On the set of the iconic Nickelodeon sitcom Drake and Josh, the two boys seemed to be best friends, but that wasn't exactly the case. One was going through some of the darkest atrocities imaginable, and the other was also experiencing an extremely complicated childhood, but they did not tell each other what was going on, and as a result, the two had one of the most catastrophic public falling outs in Nickelodeon history. For years, fans have wondered exactly what went wrong, why their relationship soured, and recently they came together and discussed everything on a 2-hour podcast that connected all of the missing pieces that we were left in the dark about for decades. While most celebrity stories and feuds feel unrealistic and manicured to fuel public interest, the story of Drake and Josh's complicated relationship is very relatable. Sure, none of us can truly relate to the pressure of being a child star while also dealing with the horrors behind the scenes, but the complications between Drake and Josh resemble a difficult relationship that you might have with a friend, uncle, cousin, or other family member. One that follows a cycle of love, hate, tension, animosity, remorse, guilt, and reconciliation. Drake and Josh's story is not some fleeting celebrity drama. So today we're going to discuss the entire thing while addressing all of the nuances and complications of a real-life relationship. Drake and Josh's lifelong troubled relationship started from the very first time they met. Drake did not like Josh, and Josh was determined to win him over. The then 14-year-old boys met on the set of The Amanda Show, which was a sketch comedy television program that was essentially the kid-friendly version of Saturday Night Live, starring Amanda Bynes. Belle was a part of the cast since its first episode in 1999, while Peck didn't join as a regular until later seasons.
I came on The Amanda Show. We didn't get along at first, but I thought you were so cool, and I really wanted you to like me. And then, thankfully, we had the shared love of old school comedy and sitcoms and great television, and so once you realized that I was kind of funny and I liked people who liked funny, we were suddenly, like, inseparable.
Yeah.
At first, Drake was almost second to Amanda, and Josh came on as a tertiary character that they would sometimes make fun of. But once Drake and Josh had to collaborate on a sketch as two Italian mobsters, they realized their comedic chemistry was undeniable.
Tony Pajamas, what's your problem, Big Dale?
Yeah, what's your problem, Big Dale? I can't sleep. You want I should put her out?
Not yet.
Hey, Cannoli? No, I just want to hear a bedtime story. She just wants to hear a bedtime story.
Hey, I got it.
He's got it.
And 25 years later, that chemistry is still there.
She wants to hear about a story.
Oh, you want to hear a story? I got a story. All right, so you got this guy, right? He's driving his bike, and he falls off, and
That's what that implies.
I didn't know Uber had senior discounts.
I'm a freshman. And his kickstand goes right through his leg.
Right through his leg.
Drake was an old soul as a kid, and became a huge fan of classic buddy comedies such as Abbott and Costello and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Drake dreamed of one day having a comedy sidekick, and he officially found his match. The two boys became good friends off-screen as well. They would go bowling, hang out after hours, and even have sleepovers. The Amanda Show became the highest-rated live-action program on Nickelodeon during its run, and while this may seem like an amazing way to start a child acting career, Drake was suffering unimaginable trauma, as a pedophile had infiltrated the Nickelodeon network. It's very important to remember that the general public was not aware of the information that you're about to learn until 2024 when it was discussed in a documentary called Quiet on Set. This documentary drastically changed everything that people thought they knew about Drake Bell. Drake Bell formed a bond with dialogue coach Brian Peck during the second season of The Amanda Show. Peck, who has no relation to Drake's co-star Josh Peck, would invite Drake to his house for acting lessons. These lessons were supervised by Drake's father, Joe, who was told that Brian Peck was a skilled coach who could help Drake secure more acting opportunities. However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian, and just touch Drake. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people.
Joe claims that while his son was in the dressing room, Brian would touch Drake in front of others in ways that made him question Brian's intentions. Joe expressed his concerns with the production personnel and said he was uncomfortable with Brian, only to be called homophobic because of Brian's sexual orientation. Therefore, Joe backed off. Once this got back to Brian, he manipulated Drake into severing ties with his father/manager, suggesting that Joe was sabotaging Drake's career. Peck subsequently integrated himself into multiple areas of Bell's life and became a father figure for the young actor. Eventually, Peck convinces Drake's mother to let him stay at his house during auditions. Then when Drake slept on Brian's couch, the sexual assault started.
Sleeping on the couch where I would usually sleep, and I woke up to him.
It's 2031, and I finally qualify for Mint 55 Plus, an exclusive plan for people.
To him, I just opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was sexually assaulting me. Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault? And that'll answer your question.
Drake wouldn't tell anyone for several months. The abuse persisted until Drake began spending more time at a girlfriend's house. One day, when he was supposed to meet with Brian, Drake said he didn't want to hang out. Brian then started calling his phone nonstop. When Drake failed to answer, Brian obsessively started calling his girlfriend's house, which is when the girlfriend's mother suspected something was wrong and took Drake to her family therapist. He later detailed the abuse to his own mother, who called the police. I had to be excruciatingly detailed about every single thing and time that it had happened with two absolute strangers. The worst part was I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit what he'd done. The police monitored a wired phone call with Brian, who broke into a full-on confession that led to his arrest. The investigation was conducted privately, and Bell remained unidentified to the public for several years due to his age at the time. Drake also refused to tell anyone what was going on, not even his best bro Josh. As if this situation couldn't get any more traumatic and confusing for Drake, before the trial, he also needed to return to Nickelodeon Studios to begin filming for his next major role on Drake and Josh.
That big break between Drake and Josh and Amanda Show is when I told my mom what was going on. We went to the police, the investigation, all the stuff that you saw in the documentary, that was when all of that was going on. And then when we shot the pilot, we were in the middle of the investigation, but nobody had known anything because Brian hadn't been arrested. I had to come back. Like the Amanda Show, where the dude was, where the abuse was happening, having the monster in your own, in your safe place. Still, where I felt most comfortable, where I was the happiest, was when I was on set with you guys. And the worst part was every day I got there, it was the monster was there, you know?
Even though Drake was forced to.
Hi, we're Charity Water. If we lost you at Charity, we get it. Give us a moment to change your mind.
To interact with his abuser daily, he did everything in his power to hide his pain and focus on his work. But Josh suspected something was wrong as Drake seemed standoffish.
I was just looking at it through the prism of a 14-year-old's brain, going like, he doesn't want much to do with me. And
Josh essentially thought that Drake just stopped liking him, not knowing the horrors of Drake's abuse. At the same time, Drake also felt a little bit of tension from Josh, but was blaming himself.
Oh, I've got all this stuff that nobody knows about that's going on. Oh, is this gonna hurt our show? Is this gonna, when this drops, is Josh gonna look at me and be like, bro, you took our dream away. Like, you took my dream, like everything, like, are we gonna lose our show?
Drake even said he started losing his hair due to all the stress he was feeling. But then the investigation into Brian's crimes was coming to a close, and some of that pressure was starting to subside, knowing that justice would be served. Drake even decided to tell Dan Schneider about his abuser right before the trial.
And when Drake and I talked and he told me what had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me?
It's 2031, and I finally qualify for Mint 55 Plus, an exclusive plan for people my age.
With my speech for the judge, I said, of course.
Brian Peck was convicted of child molestation in 2004, pleading no contest to a charge of oral copulation with a minor under 16 and a charge of performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old. He spent only 16 months in prison and was mandated to register as a sex offender. Josh, again, unaware of what was going on, one day realized that he stopped seeing Brian on set and with Drake, so he asked Drake what happened.
I'd had a feeling, because Brian, who was ever present during the Amanda show, and then he was gone, and I didn't know anything except I had a feeling something happened. And I remember we were in the car, it was you, me, and Jill, and I said, you still talk to Brian? And you just looked at me like, no, Brian's a really bad guy. And I remember thinking, gotcha. And it was all that I needed to know. And I didn't know anything more than that, but I was like, that's clear.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Although Drake's pain was not magically gone once Brian was arrested, he was able to find joy again in acting now that his abuser was not on set. However, Josh was also suffering from his own complicated life struggles. Now, by comparison, they seem menial to Drake's, but you have to consider that children feel like they are the center of their own universe, and they don't have that worldly perspective to make sense of their pain. Josh Peck was raised by a single mother, actually never even meeting his father. He was the result of a short fling his mother had with a coworker. Him and his mother went through drastic ups and downs, sometimes living a comfortable middle-class life, and other times not knowing if they will be able to pay rent. To compound this struggle, he was using food as an escape, leading to him becoming very overweight.
I didn't know that I was sort of eating in an unhealthy way. I just felt like I eat fruit snacks like every other kid. I just, do it in an excessive way. So I think that pain was just born out of what we all feel, is that it hurts to be different, and it hurts to know that life is going to be challenging.
Josh also used stand-up comedy and his television roles to escape his internal battles. Perhaps this is what made the two such a great duo. A silver lining to these young boys experiencing a traumatic childhood was that when they came together, they felt safe and comfortable. And because of that, they created one of the greatest live-action shows in Nickelodeon history. Drake Parker and Josh Nichols were two brothers bound by their parents' marriage, forced to live in the same house, go to the same school, hang out with the same friends, while having totally opposite personalities. Josh was the hefty, emotional dork, while Drake was a smooth-talking ladies' man who led a rock band. It was common that the Nickelodeon writers made Josh the butt of the joke. I mean, it's very easy to pick on the overweight, goofy kid. Drake, on the other hand, would often be this glamorized bad boy. He was lazy, rude, and self-centered. He would not stand up for his brother Josh. He would go hang out with girls and friends without him, and basically had a hard time accepting Josh as his brother.
It's 2031, and I finally qualify for Mint 55 Plus, an exclusive plan for people my age.
Here's my vision. I see your band in a desert. The sun beats down, little creature scampers by. Perhaps, a lizard?
Oh, here's my vision. I don't care about your vision. The video should show off my band.
And although the show produced some hilarious moments when the brothers were pitted against each other,
You made that whole story up. No, you started that fight. You calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther.
the best episodes were usually when they had to work together to get themselves out of ridiculous situations.
You gotta get me out of this. I want to be cooler, but I can't go out there and play against the toughest team in the state. Okay. He's thinking. He's snapping. I got an idea. He's got an idea. Okay, you need to stop that.
During season 3, Josh started to grow taller and lost a noticeable amount of weight, so the show's writers could not just resort to cheap fat jokes, but they still often made him a punching bag.
Did you just shave that thing off? No. All right, ever since I've grown this mustache, people treat me differently. I get more respect.
Hey, Josh.
It's 2031, and I finally qualify for Mint 55 Plus, an exclusive plan for people.
Tell him once you go down the basement empty the rat traps.
You see? Helen never let me do that before.
Package for Josh Nichols.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Don't tell me what to do.
Although Drake warmed up to Josh eventually, his character remained the inconsiderate troublemaker, and often the show reminded us how rude he actually was.
I have to take Helen home, right? And I need you to follow me so I can get it right back. Kiss pretty girl, drive brother in traffic.
While we know that this is merely just actors leaning into their characters for the sake of comedy, and now we love them both for playing these roles so well, you have to remember that the target audience for this show were children, and it appeared to them that Drake was the main character and Josh was the sidekick, which is essentially proven by the fact that Drake won 10 Kids' Choice Awards and Josh only won once. It was clear that Drake was the fan.
The only thing more popular than me is Wild Natural deodorant. Cherry Blossom. Oh, I wish I could sniff your
fan favorite. And Josh kind of understood because he also idolized Drake since they first met. But at the same time, Josh was 50% of the show. Some would argue that Josh's one-liners and physical humor is what actually made the show so successful.
Whoa, what's this? Just getting ready for my big dinner. Drake, what are you doing here? You're never home Saturday night. I told you tonight's my big fight with Lucy. No, you never said that. Never said that. Okay, you never said you were gonna be home Saturday. Well, I am. Ooh, olives. Okay, paws off my olives.
In addition to this imbalance on-screen, off-screen, Josh was still going through tough times. Because of his weight, he felt like he was missing out on a normal teenage life, the life that Drake was seemingly living.
I just knew that I felt like because I was so insecure, I had missed out on a lot of my teenage years. It wasn't without lack of opportunity to go out and be a knucklehead and experience life. I just didn't want to do it because I didn't love the body that I was in. So I felt like if I didn't act now, I was going to lose some really important years.
Josh got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and he spent his summers walking through New York City for miles while slowly making better food choices. His consistency led to him losing a total of 127 pounds in 3 years. This physical transformation had a profound effect on the Drake and Josh show. His new body seemed to make him more confident in pursuing physical comedy on screen.
Drake! Hang on, I'm busy. Mindy just told me she loves me. What? Oh. Tell me exactly how you responded when Mindy said, I love you. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, seeing chemistry, and I slammed the door in her face.
And as a result, season 4 of the show produced some of the most hilarious and memorable moments.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw. Dude, I'm gonna. Oh, really? Yes. So go get the power saw. Okay, I will.
It's 2031, and I finally qualify for Mint 55 Plus, an exclusive plan for people my age. It's just $15 a month, and it came with full service activation. Really? Nothing's changed? We are really slipping in the future, guys. Wow, yeah. Yeah, that'll fool them. Whatever.
To do it, he went overboard.
Uh-oh. That is not actually about to start falling out like
falling victim to a dangerous drug and alcohol addiction.
And suddenly I'm like now looking like a normal kid and a normal teen. And I'm like, oh, they do drugs and that's normal. And they go to house parties and they go to clubs and they show up late to places and they're unreliable and that's normal. And I died to be normal. And I remember when I finally said yes, I had no conception that this drug would make me feel any different, that it was extreme. All I thought was, A, I hope she's watching. And oh good, I'm normal.
While Josh was going through hard times, Drake was receiving very consistent work over the years doing voice acting roles in shorts, TV shows, and movies. His most notable role was Peter Parker in Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man animated series. When he wasn't doing voiceovers, he was writing and releasing his own music. Interestingly enough, his records weren't very popular in the United States, but were huge in various Spanish-speaking countries. The Drake and Josh Nickelodeon show was extremely popular in Latin countries, likely due to the excellent job the production team did with dubbing the actors' voices. Drake always wanted to be a rock star, ever since his earliest days on The Amanda Show in 2001. He released music consistently for 17 years, but received no gold or platinum records in America. However, in Mexico and other various Spanish-speaking countries, Drake Bell, aka Drake Campana, had multiple high-charting Billboard singles and albums. In some of these countries, he performed shows for thousands of people. He learned to speak Spanish. He has written and released a ton of music in Spanish. He even provides Spanish subtitles with every podcast or social media post he makes. People have joked on social media that he ran away to Mexico to avoid charges of his 2020 crimes, when in reality, he was more successful there for over a decade and probably made most of his income in Latin-speaking countries.
And what's it like in Mexico? Like, because you moved to Mexico, right? It seems amazing.
It's unbelievable, bro. You have no idea.
Tell me more, Drake Campana.
It's unbelievable. In Mexico, we were on Channel 5. We were like on After Friends or Seinfeld. You know, it's like we're on normal TV. Everyone watched us. We weren't a kids show. There's a place called Veeps. It's like Denny's. The menu for the children's menu is us, bro.
What?
Like when you buy Doritos, you buy whatever, and you open them up, like the little prizes inside is us.
Despite Josh's addiction and unreliability, he successfully broke the child star curse he was so desperate to escape from, and he did that with his role as Luke Shapiro in The Whackness. This coming-of-age dramedy set in 1994 in New York City follows a teenage drug dealer who trades weed for therapy sessions with his eccentric psychiatrist. Infused with 90s hip-hop culture, the film explores themes of adolescence, depression, love, and self-discovery. The Whackness premiered at the 2008 Sundance Film Festival, where it won the Audience Award for a dramatic feature. Josh had finally achieved success outside of the goofy fat guy trope he thrived in his whole career, yet he realized it did not fill the empty void he was feeling in his life.
I had this realization, which was, oh no, you're bottomless. Like, you tried to fill this with food, then drugs and alcohol, and now like prestige, and none of it.
Nothing's gonna fill the void.
None of it. And I got sober 2 weeks later.
Luckily for Josh, he did not spiral deeper. He understood that he was trying to cure an internal problem with external solutions, and instead he chose the right path forward with therapy and sober living. He basically stayed busy every single year since then, securing a major film, TV, or voice acting role. He even took to social media, becoming one of the most popular creators on the 6-second video app Vine.
Hey Josh, you just hit 4 million followers. No way. You calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther.
Then again, neither Drake nor Josh's personal troubles made for viral headlines. Sure, TMZ did their standard coverage, and maybe diehard fans were concerned about the two, but generally speaking, the mainstream fandom were now in high school and college and focusing on their own lives rather than their childhood celebrity favorites. Plus, Drake and Josh were frequently seen together over the years. Here's a photo that Josh posted to his Instagram in 2012 of them hanging out at a house party. Here's another photo of them in 2013 at a Christmas party. In 2014, there were multiple photos of them together. Josh even personally invited Drake to have a cameo in an episode of Grandfathered in 2015, which was a show about a socially awkward yet lovable new dad who unexpectedly reconnects with his suave, restaurant-owning father, played by John Stamos.
You remind me of my stepbrother. Oh, but is he awesome? No, he's in jail for stalking Oprah. Anyway, let's get inside so you guys can buy me dinner. It's time for you to go, Kirk. Are you serious? Yeah, go away. Have a nice night. Don't tell me what to do. What? Hug me!
So it seemed like on the surface that Drake and Josh were friends. They were hanging out all the time and even collaborating. But it turns out that these meetups were actually extremely brief and infrequent. Quite literally just a quick little catch up because they happened to be at the same party. Drake actually wanted to be closer to Josh at this time, but was unable to express that to him.
Like when we were hanging out at Michael's a lot, and we were just, and like there was, I always felt like, what, like, man, we're all hanging out the same, like we should be closer. There's something. I'm like, oh, I'm not cool enough to like hang out with Josh. Like, oh no, he's, I'm not funny enough. I'm not this. No, he thinks I'm this, and like we were doing the same shit when we really should have just been like, bro, want to go grab some pizza and like play some video games?
And the result of this friction between the two would get blown out of proportion, because in 2017, Drake posted 2 tweets about how he was not invited to Josh Peck's wedding, which sent the media into a frenzy, speculating that Drake and Josh had some sort of falling out. When you're not invited to the wedding, the message is clear. True colors have come out today. Message is loud and clear. Ties are officially cut. I'll miss you, brother. From there, Drake also did a few interviews where he discussed his feelings about not receiving the invite, but he still expressed nothing but grace for Josh.
Friend, you're talking to your friend and you're congratulating him on, oh, I'm so glad you're engaged, congratulations, blah blah blah. And then you see on social media that he had a wedding, and I go, what? I didn't hear about it, I didn't know about it, and so I shot from the hip and kind of was like, what? This is wrong. Like, why am I finding out about this on social media? I just feel like a bummed out brother, just kind of hurt, but it had nothing to, it does nothing to our relationship. I mean, we're brothers, we're friends. I mean, he's been one of my dearest friends for the past 18 years.
Josh was receiving a ton of hate for not inviting Drake to the wedding, and it really cast a dark cloud over this special night. The next time Josh saw Drake, which was at the VMAs in 2017, he asked Drake to apologize to his wife Paige for the tweets, and Drake happily did.
And I remember that I was at the Video Music Awards, and I see him there, and he sees me, and I go up to him, like, and this might be the most Sopranos thing I've ever done. And I look at him and I go apologize to my wife right now. And he goes, okay. And he like made a beeline for my wife, and I see him do like this whole 5-minute performance of an apology. And it was like, I was like, go apologize to my wife or something bad's gonna happen.
After Josh claims to have intimidated Drake, he ran up behind him and put a camera in Drake's face to vlog their reunion moment to show the public that they didn't have any real beef.
Holy come on. What's up, buddy? Is this happening right now live? Is this really right now live? Stream live right now. Oh my God.
Please
Wait,
tell
is this
Facebook
streaming?
to be nice to me.
Oh my God, it's not even my fault.
Just tell Facebook to be nice to me.
Listen, lay off.
Thank you. You heard that, Facebook? It's all good.
Chill out.
We love
lay
you.
off, man. All right,
I got $100 for you.
Drake and his ex-wife Janet said that this moment was actually sincere. The couples exchanged numbers and went out to dinner multiple times afterwards, seemingly rekindling their friendship. They even did some content together as Josh was pursuing YouTube very seriously.
That's Drake. That's Josh. And it's all love, people. Back together again. We're all good.
That's amazing. Right.
So,
It sucked anyway.
oh, fuck you.
F me? You know what? Mom never even liked you.
She's not our mom. We're not on the TV show.
We now know exactly why Drake was not invited to the wedding.
Taxes was...
Thanks for joining us, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
So you had the World Cup a few years ago here. It was very widely covered around the world, and part of the coverage, maybe the majority of the coverage, was not about soccer, football. It was about your country and how it was, needed to come into line with the social mores of the West, et cetera. There was a lot of lecturing about to your country about the way that you live. Did you feel that?
Well, it's unfortunate, the whole purpose of hosting the World Cup is to bring the world together in that country, to put the country in the spotlight about the football, about the tournament, and about people coming together. Unfortunately, countries and some NGOs try to use this as an opportunity to attack on values of the society itself, on the values of the country, of the community, by using it as an opportunity to change these values and to impose their own values on our country and our people. That's something was expected from our side, that we will be attacked. We will be hearing a lot of lectures about values and things that are not belongs to us. And basically, our decision from the beginning that we don't need to change the country for a one-month tournament. And I cannot change the value of a whole society and impose on them values that I don't believe in. And it's against every principle in our society, against the principles of Islam, against the principles of Christianity as well. And that's basically, we said very clear, we respect everybody who's coming here as long as they are respecting the laws in that country, as you are expecting from the Qataris when they visit any of your countries in Europe to respect your laws. And basically, that's what we want from the people. Anything happen in their personal life, it's their personal life. But nothing should happen in public against the laws of the state of Qatar, and we will never change. The problem that those countries and NGOs put a lot of efforts in demonizing this World Cup in order to impose their values, yet there were many things happening around the world, and they are just turning a blind eye. If they put some efforts and energy on those real issues that affecting the human lives around the world, it would be much better than the waste investment that was in campaigns against the country to change its values, to impose new values which are not even related to us.
So why do you think that is? This used to be called cultural imperialism, taking your values and using force to impose them on another society. But this is probably the richest country per capita in the world. It's free. Qataris can come and go. They don't have to live here. They choose to live here. And your values are thousands of years old. Why would it be important for an NGO? I thought they were supposed to be feeding people, but instead they're yelling at you for not having enough transgender Qataris. Like, what is the point of that? What do you think that actually is? What are they trying to do?
Well, I think it's mainly driven by an agenda that these are the things that we would like to see in countries that they are not accepting it, and societies that they are not accepting it. We need to make it normal for them. We need to normalize it. Second, a lot didn't accept the fact that Qatar is a small Arab country.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small businesses.
Can host a world-class tournament. Basically, they were like, how a lot of attacks that why Qatar won the World Cup, they don't have even the culture of the World Cup. I don't know what does it mean if I am a country like a marginal country, I don't have the right to host a world tournament. And this is more about, honestly, I see it like more racism and superiority. And that's basically, I think, the main driver for this.
So an official here told me a funny story, and I want to check to see if it's true. This person told me that some bureau or commission in the United Nations was rating the human rights here in Qatar and said in order to score higher, you have to build nursing homes for your old people to live. And this person tried to explain, we don't have nursing homes because old people, parents live with their children. But you built them anyway in order to get a higher score on this, and they remained empty. Is that true?
Well, it is true, actually. They are like, sometimes when you have international organizations trying to impose certain conditions in order to give you like the better status that will make you look good, it requires from you some steps that you will do that it's not even needed here in this kind of society. Look, Qatar is a small country. The people here, family matters for us. Parents matters for us. We are in debt to our parents until the last day in their life or in our lives, whatever comes first. If someone will leave his parents alone without taking care of it, he will be publicly shamed by the society. It's not really an acceptable custom or habit in this country to have your parents staying in a senior home. The parents are the ones who took care of us when we were children until we grew up to become independent, and we have the duty to take care of them. And that's really the genuine nature of the Qatari society. So that's why you end up with something that you don't need. It's not according to your value, it's not according to your religion, but we build it anyway to get to get the fancy branding.
It does, if you take 3 steps back, it's like they're mad at you because you don't have enough transgenders, they're mad at you because you don't put your parents in some institution. Maybe they're trying to break up.
Taxes was field.
I really am. Really am.
Break up your families.
Well, it can be a reason.
Like oh my God, like their obsession for transgenders is just it's amazing. It's amazing. I swear, it's just amazing. Transgenders got to come up for like everything.
Honestly, I don't know what is really the purpose behind this, but we see that a lot of things that are happening are attacks on humanity in general. It's when you lose the family value, when you lose the connection between the family themselves, you will lose the connection between the people as well, on a broader level, on the people in the same neighborhood, on the people in the same region, in the same countries. And that's basically will just make us, as individuals who are, quote unquote, independent from anyone. That's what we will feel. Yet it will just make our societies vulnerable and easy to be penetrated.
That's right.
And that's I think, the main issue that we are facing and the main threat that we are facing. You have seen, Tucker, you spent.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small.
You spent now a few days in Qatar, and you came to my home, and you have seen that my home is surrounded by my family homes. And it's not, I'm not really living in isolation from them. I'm
definitely not.
The nuclear family, the bigger family, and it's all one community, one family. And basically you can apply this and magnify it to the entire country. This is not the case for Mohammed, this is the case for everyone here. People, even when they move temporarily to another neighborhood or to another place 10 minutes away from their family, they feel homesick. So we believe that this is supposed to be the case for all the countries, where families bonds matters, families bonds really create from your society a strong society.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small business.
That's not easily penetrated. And that's what creates the national unity as well, in face of external threats and everything.
So that's kind of the key, is that when you are cut off, when you're alone, you are powerless and you can be controlled.
Yeah.
You can be penetrated.
You can be penetrated, yes. Very true.
Your country has been in the American media sporadically recently, and it's under attack for reasons I don't fully understand. One of the reasons I want to come.
Hey, Conrad. Well, because it's just it's always good to stay abreast of what's going on in the world. And we're about wrapping it up because there just isn't anything like really worth watching right now. Nothing really going on at the moment. We're already
I'm here to understand why people are mad at you. And I think you've got the biggest overseas U.S. airbase right near here. So you're clearly a U.S. ally. Yeah. But I keep reading reference to Qatar as anti-American or pro-Islamist or a threat to the United States somehow. Where do those attacks come from, do you think?
Look, as a country, we always want to do the right things. And
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything.
Yeah, this is
from families to small business.
Unacceptable.
Basically, the right things, not only for our people, but for our people, for our region, and for our friends. And when you are trying to do the right things, sometimes you change your mind, when you hear this kind of criticism. But it wasn't really in our culture, because we believe that it serves the real cause behind all these efforts is to bring peace. Peace for the people, peace for the region, and peace for our friends. And basically, the peace is the main foundation for us, for our people to prosper. And peace has a lot of enemies who wants to undermine it for political reason, who wants to undermine it for economical reason, who wants to demonize your effort in order to...
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small business.
Make sure that every step you will take will be suspicious in order to control also the parties that you are helping in that. And basically, they don't know by doing such a thing, they are not harming us, but they are harming the region, and they are harming our friends, including the United States. And having an ally and partner and friend like Qatar with the airbase as one example, and working together very closely on a lot of issues, a lot of files, helping bring Americans homes from different countries, whether it was in the evacuation in Afghanistan, whether it's in American hostages all around the world, mediating in different conflicts. They basically, if they keep criticizing Qatar and attacking Qatar, they think that this is just harming Qatar and Qatar reputation. It's not. It's actually because we always we go back to the results. We focus on the outcome, and we think about it that should be our objective, and we should focus there, and we shouldn't really disturb ourselves with any noise. But they don't know that this is harming the U.S. and the U.S. interest at the end of the day.
So my sense is that part of the criticism and the confusion from Americans, I think two causes. One, you have a Hamas office here. Mm-hmm. And Hamas has been designated, I think, repeatedly by the U.S. government, certainly by the Congress, as a terror organization. And people say, well, how could you have a Hamas office here? What is
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small businesses.
What is that?
We have to go back to the root of this office. Why it's here in the first place. And Hamas office, when it was opened here in the first place, it was opened with full transparency and full consultation, and actually even request from the U.S. And
the U.S. asked you to put a Hamas office here?
They have asked us to open the channels with them and to have an established communication channel with the same case what was applied to Taliban as well. And look, at the end of the day, if you have a presence of someone in your country and you are engaging and talking, it doesn't mean that you are endorsing his ideas. It doesn't mean that you are supporting him. The purpose of this office was to facilitate peace, to stabilize the region, and to make sure that always it's serving the purpose.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small businesses.
And you can go through even everything all the events that happened in the recent 10 years since the office was officially opened here in Doha. How many peace deals have been brokered from that office through that channel? Many of them. 2014 was the discussion and the negotiations was initiated here and ended in Egypt. In 2018, 2020 and 21, with all those escalations, and many of escalations that we avoided to prevent a war. There are many, plenty of them. You will lose count. Then, after 7th of October, the first hostage deal that released the hostages, the women and children, was 109, and the foreigners, was 109 hostages. November 23 happened through that office. The second hostage deal, which we are going through right now, it was produced out of this office. So the office is a communication channel, and it doesn't make me, feeling shy that I speak with someone whom I have a disagreement with. President Trump spoke with North Korea. He didn't shy out of him. He met with him. He engaged with him. He wants to put an end for the conflict. He wants to make a deal with him. He's a deal maker, and this country basically is brokering deals.
Initially at the request of the U.S. government.
Yes, and it continued like everything that we did. Looked at.
Oh my God, bro! Why does he do that, bro? Did he just he just gave you an explanation as to why the office was opened, right? It was to facilitate peace talks. To facilitate peace talks, right? We have back channels with countries all the time. We do the shit with Iran. We was doing this shit with China when we wasn't doing direct talks with them because we were beefing. Like, why are you so hell bent on just making sure they understand that the United States told him to open up an office for Hamas, to sit there and imply that, you know, trying to like terror, you know, whatever terrorist support stuff that you just sitting there like trying to just, I don't even know, like even like this, I can see that there is some underlying message you're trying to push, reinforcing that the U.S. asked them to open up a Hamas office. He just explained in the most clearest way possible why that's the case. And you're still trying to drive home whatever, what's the word? I see it's so late, I can't even think of the word. What's the word? You're still trying to drive home an agenda. That's not the exact word, but it's close enough. It's so stupid. Like bro, like come on. This is why it's just so hard for me to watch like Tucker Carlson videos, bro. It's so shady. Ever since that Dominion thing where he was lying about the voting stuff and ended up getting Fox News like caught up because he wasn't being a proper journalist. I mean, he wasn't even a journalist to begin with. Like Fox News said in all them other court cases, right? That they're not an actual news agency. Like that section is just people just giving opinions, even though it's called Fox News. But you know, it's just it's just so slimy. It's just so slimy. Like Jesus Christ, man. Finishing this path, I'm just cutting this off. I need to get Pi-hole installed. I can't do it. Like this is like overly egregious. Like why is like every 2 minutes you're actually showing me an ad? Every 2 minutes? Like I wouldn't sit there and be so pressed about it if it was like just regular, like maybe like every one of these like cuts is like okay, you know what I'm saying? But like every 2 minutes you're throwing me an ad. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna kind of kill that. All right, let me see what the enemies are looking like real fast. So this would be almost halfway through. I'm gonna zoom in so I can actually. Whoops. Now let's. Bro, can I move that shit out my way? Oh shit. There you go. I'm so much better with this with my finger. Like doing this on mouse and keyboard, I hate doing this shit on mouse and keyboard. It's a pain. Enable building from what? Do I still have something that's not built from somewhere? Yeah, at least I finally got 1,000 graphite and I got 2K. Can I? Do you think it'll let me? I need silicone. I need me silicone. I need me silicone, but I need electricity. Oh, so that's what I was doing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess we'll do it right here. Let me just build this out real quick. So while I'm here thinking about it, we're not even gonna do that many. It's just gonna be like. pause. It is a drive to get there. Yeah, because I used to be good at just dodging. Do it. I already killed him. Oh yeah, so it's not even. You know, I gotta make this shit all the way to where I put the silicone at. And this island or planet sector does not have any titaniums. Okay.
But I'm confident that
I just want to finish the electricity thing and then
throughout the years that I've been working under the leadership of the Emir,
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything from families to small business.
we are sure that every step we are taking, we are very transparent, coordinating with the US, and making sure that we are doing the right thing. So I have nothing wrong that I did that I'm shying away from. I know that we have a lot of attacks, and unfortunately, we have attacks from the US legislation, like from the Congress many times, that although we did it at the request of the government, yet the Emir always tell me that if we are able to save a single life, it's worth everything. And I'll tell you something, we've been under a significant attack in the last 15 months during this war in Gaza. Unbelievable. No one would handle such an attack. And we worked tirelessly on achieving this deal. And the moment we went out to announce that a deal being achieved and we see the celebration in the streets, whether it's in Gaza or in Israel, that moment makes us forget everything.
You've been attacked with the U.S. Congress. The core question for me is, if Qatar is an enemy of the United States, why is our airbase here? Have there been calls to remove the airbase?
Well, there are like some voices who unfortunately very much misinformed that this is very critical for the U.S. security to be here in this region. And, you know, actually the base itself, when it's moved in the first place, it was moved after September 11 to Doha. And it was a very risky decision for any country to take it. And we took it. We took it because of the friendship that we have with the U.S., because of the partnership that we are committing ourselves together with the U.S. in. And it turned out to be like the most important U.S. base outside the United States. And basically it served the security of the United States, but also it served the stability of this region.
If you're like us, you're probably a little tired of companies that claim to care about your privacy and then whip around without your knowledge and sell your data to the highest bidder. They do it all the time. They make a fortune off your private information. Everything about you, everything you do online can be sold, and it is. But there's one way to stop it. It's called ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that sends 100% of your unrolled VPN. Who I think it's done a good, for the record, I think it's done a good job. But was attacked in some U.S. media for his connect. He'd done business in your country, and he was attacked as a tool of your government.
Well, you know, sometimes when you read the reports about Qatar, like you feel that this is a superpower that controls, you know, everyone, and everyone is a tool in the hand of Qatar. Look, this is all a joke. Steve is a respected businessman. He has done business. We didn't do anything wrong with him. We have done business. I've known him for a long time. I attended his son's wedding. I have a personal relationship, and all this happened before even the election. Before the election taking place. This was, I think, last February, just months before the election. And this friendship and relationship, it means that there's a trust between two people, and this trust will, of course, matters for, you know, the working relationship that we have and partnership that US and Qatar has. And it benefited the deal at the end of the day. The man traveled all the way. He stayed here. He spent a few days in Doha. He participated with us in the negotiation. He pushed when it was required. He did a great job. We, as partners, we achieved the deal at the end of the day. The deal wouldn't be achieved without, with Qatar single-handedly or with the United States single-handedly. It means all of us are one team and work together. Now, people are attacking him for his relation with Qatar and being a tool in Qatar. If you go back and trace back, those people who are not interested in having a deal, not interested in having, they put their political interests ahead.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything.
This is absurd.
From families to small businesses.
You know what? It's so damning. It's so damning. I have to come here and
ahead of the interests of even the hostages themselves. How many family in Israel celebrated the return of their loved ones? I'm not going to talk about Gaza. Gaza, hundreds of thousands of people, they've been fed after a very long war. But just, if you look at this and look at the ones who attacked someone like Steve Witkoff, who achieved and succeeded in reaching this deal because of his relation with Qatar, is to make sure that the next time he calculates his steps. But Steve is a great man, straight shooter. It doesn't matter for him as it doesn't matter for us. We are friends, yes, this is something.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything. From families to small businesses, from farmers to factories. Clean energy fuels lives.
I feel proud of that I have many friends in the United States, and those friends might become, in certain positions, whether in this administration or in the future administration. Doesn't mean that those friends will be like a tool in our hand or in other hand. And basically, the people who are using this, they just the problem that they cannot take it that a small country can get the results. They always have to think about an external factor that bringing them these results. And when they look at it as a small country and with this amount of resources, the first thing that will come to their mind, oh, they are bribing everyone. I'm a country like any other country. I'm operating like any other country. I protect my people's interest. I protect my region interest. I protect my friends. And that's what will always continue the same way.
So Trump gets elected in November, inaugurated in January, and immediately there's a ceasefire, almost immediately, with Steve Witkoff, leading the negotiations with your help. But that's coming after years of bloodshed, utterly destabilizing this part of the world itself. Where was the Biden administration during all of that?
Look, Tucker, what's really making me feel sad that the agreement that we have achieved on 15th of January this year is almost 95% the framework that's been agreed in December and the agreement that's been agreed in March 24. And it took all these months.
America relies on clean, renewable energy. It powers everything, from families to small business.
In order to, to put it in motion. With the previous administration, we were working very closely. The director of CIA is someone that I worked with, I respect a lot. And we did, a lot of work together. The partnership was honestly, an exemplary. But at the end of the day, I think it's the calculations of one party over the other. That why would I do it now? Let me wait. And then President Trump, of course, they know there is no deal happening before the inauguration as he announced. It might have consequences. And I believe that played a big role in this.
But the fact is they couldn't get a deal done and he did.
I think this is, also the way that Steve has managed to represent President Trump was also a very effective way.
One of the criticisms of your country is that you're too close to Iran. And I should say you're very physically close to Iran.
Yeah. I'm gonna end it right there. I'm gonna actually stop it right there. And just so we're clear, right? There's an agreement made in December. You heard me say agreement made in December and then March, right? So there was still an agreement facilitated by the Biden administration, right? And then Trump came in and then solidified the deal. I think it's really interesting that, because obviously the narrative is that, okay, yeah, the Biden administration wasn't doing anything, couldn't do anything, but Trump was able to do all this fantastic stuff, right? And I'm trying to actually be completely fair and charitable about this, okay? That is partially true with respect to what they knew was going to happen when Trump came in, not so much from what Trump would do, but what Israel would get the go-ahead to do, okay? While Biden was in, they knew that Biden wouldn't let Israel be too over like, you know, egregious or reckless and you know, and handling the whole Hamas problem and the hostages and stuff, right? But they knew that if Trump was in, right, Trump would just basically just let them just like take them out, right? Just basically just do whatever. Which is, I still want to see. I really need to see the like any of the Muslims, any of the Palestinian support people. I really want to know why you either voted for Trump or didn't vote at all, right? I need to find out what those particular people were thinking, right? Because it was obvious and clear as day, right? And then the thing is that, you know, maybe that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, like, a decision has to be made, and the Palestinians are always going to get the short end of it. So in my mind, right? So what I am going to say is what likely happened is that, like the other guy was saying, like, you know, the team, like, it's a calculus. It's just a calculation game at the end of the day. Like, what am I going to be able to do, or what can I get away with, and what do I foresee happening if I decide to do this or this, right? And they were like, you know, with the Biden administration would hold Israel to account on trying to, like, actually make peace happen more equally, right? More equitable. Whereas Trump would be like, just like, no, like, you're in a losing fight. You know, the Palestinians in a losing fight. They're not you like he was saying in Ukraine, right? You have no cards, right? You will accept what the Israelis want to have or want to do. And he'll just allow the Israelis he'll just cover for the Israelis to just go ahead and just, you know, just force it. And that's the point, right? So, like, in that kind of in that regard, you could sit there and argue that Trump was able to get a deal that Biden was not able to do, but, like, the circumstances are completely different, because, like, it's going to be at extreme cost of the entire Palestinian, the entire Palestinians, right? Like, it's not that he was making a deal. He was just sitting there just like, if you don't basically, like, if you don't surrender, we're just gonna let Israel just, like, basically wreck your shit and take your land. Like, that's to me, that's not a deal. That's not a real deal, right? That's the thing. They're trying to portray him as a deal maker, but, like, he's not making a deal. He's just making the obvious option easier for the people to do, for the you know, for the winning side to just take, right? Same shit with Ukraine, right? That's not even, and then Ukraine is a perfect example, right? Because so much for, like, the deal maker, and that shit just collapsed, right? Because unlike the Palestinians, right, the Ukrainians can fight for themselves, and right, and they're not going to just sit there and just give up their land, because they know what that would mean. Right, unlike the Palestinians that really don't have a choice. I mean, the Palestinians just don't have a choice. They're completely isolated and stuff, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. Whereas the Ukrainians at least have, like, the rest of Europe. That's, like, keeping afloat. And even if they didn't have Europe, at least they were going to put up a fight. Like, you're going to basically, like, you're going to have to, like, just destroy us all before you think we capitulate to you. So I don't know. Like, it's just like, it's just such, like, egregious meat writing. I kind of see with the way he just, like, pushes these narratives. It's so sad. But I'm gonna end it there, because I'm not even all that really interested, because this is always the same thing. It's always just the same talking points. Right? It's either transgenders DEI, or Trump's, like, you know, the greatest. It is. I don't know. Let me just.
We are physically
how close?
Let me do a quick. I just want to do a quick spot check. Okay, cool. Yeah. Everything's good, and then. Yeah, and then before we come back to this, then we'll when we come back to this, then we'll actually, I'll just add it now, and then I'll save. Oh. Like that, now we have something. How do I fast forward to fucking Jesus Christ. I fast forward to the damn wave. Thinking of the menu, bro. Where the hell is the menu button at? Do I have to pause it? Oh, they got bombers now. Oh, that's not good. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I just started. It's a good thing I just started getting the silicon. Good thing I got the silicon. We'll have to think about this time. Where is, bro? How do you? What do you press? The squiggly or the tilde button thing? That's crappy. All right. Save it and quit. This. And let me move back to my other computer. Don't worry. Tomorrow we'll fix the encoding issue. We'll There was something else I wanted to fix. I just don't remember what it was. What was it that I wanted to fix? I don't know. There was some other thing. Oh, the chat thing. I had to fix the chat thing because I don't know why the chat thing is like a message behind. It's just kind of wild. But yeah, I'm sorry guys. It was just more just cause like there just wasn't nothing like worth watching. I gotta get back to like having like a queue going that'll go through just interesting things to like just go over. I could probably just pull up my old queue that I know I have videos I just haven't done much with, but good chance a U.S. trade deal with the UK, said Vice President Vance. Oh yeah, the UK's out of the EU, right? I think it's like Brexit. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, that's that. Sorry guys, I'm like tired. Like 2 a.m. Like hygiene, and I'm going to sleep. You guys take care. I said just slowly, like I said, this week's just gonna be more so just getting back into the groove of things where like we have it back to like how we had it, and then it'll be better, I promise. Yeah, look, you see my hair. It's gonna be so cool like when I come back and you see that I'm not bushy anymore, right? Get my regular haircuts and stuff finally after so many months of not shaving. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody stopping by. Like I said, it will get better. It's a slow build up, right? We got to just build it back up to like how we used to have it. So yeah, with that being said, you guys take care. I'm going to sleep now. Right.
Will Almighty ever stop being trash? Can he ever not be sorry? Find out next time on Almighty's Stream.